Look at sport now, and details are emerging about an attack on a Knights player team.
Yeah, this is ugly, Deb. What happened to Luke Quigley is not good. More shortly, Newcastle utility player Luke Quigley has had surgery on a broken jaw after being attacked by two men in a Newcastle hotel car park early on Saturday morning. Quigley will be out for at least 6 weeks.
Tonight we thought we would turn back the page on some other memorable pitch invasions. Pranksters to pests, and Peter Hoare has interrupted everything from sporting events to funerals. So, when he rode onto Energy Australia Stadium on a tricycle with 2 live cats in a cage, people weren't shocked, they were bemused. This was the second time in as many years someone had stuck their head in where it wasn't wanted at Newcastle. In 2005, despite nursing a recently broken ankle, a drunken Knights fan shaped up to tackle several Parramatta players.
There's an idiot on the field. Some idiot's come on the field and is involved in the play. He's got a can of drink, he's slipped over. Wagon will score the try. Where's the security? His buffet's still on the field.
Obviously not happy with his team's defensive effort, Danny Woods was led away from proceedings, declaring someone had to make a tackle. Tonight we'll preview Friday night's test match between Australia and New Zealand, and we'll speak to 2 of the Kangaroos stars as well, with Australian captain Darren Lockyer joining us live from the team camp in Brisbane, and with him will be Newcastle's Steve Simpson, who's back in the test team and I'm sure raring to go. And back in the NRL is Luke Davico, the former Raider, playing his first game for the Knights last weekend in a winning effort against South Sydney, and Luke will be with us right here in the studio.
Steve, what about your role within the squad? Do you see yourself playing more of a front rowers type of game, more so than a back rower?
Yeah, I do. I've sort of been running there the whole week, so I'm expecting to play a fair bit of time that I'm on the field in the front row, so that doesn't faze me at all. I've done it before.
And Steve, of course, your Newcastle teammate and captain Andrew Johns, this will be his last test for Australia. I imagine he's fairly worked up about it. Had he spoken about the game much in the last couple of weeks at Newcastle?
Not really, I suppose. We've just been concentrating on what we've got to do there, and I suppose this week's the week you sort of concentrate on the game at hand. So yeah, I know he's looking forward to it. He's been champing at the bit, and couldn't wait to get back last week to get a run under his belt before he played this Friday.
Has he been on the physio table, boys? Has he got like a sore neck, sore back, sore ankle, Joey?
Yeah, he's usually number 1 on the list there, but he spends a bit of time in the physio room, but he'll be right to go Friday.
Is it the same for Darren, or Andrew rather, when he's playing for New South Wales? You're part of the camp. Is he like that?
Oh, he likes the rubbing table, Joey.
Right?
He likes getting plenty of physio, making sure he's spot on for the day.
Right now, though, we'll take another break and come back for a chat with Newcastle's Luke Davico.
Buderus takes it from dummy half. The referee has a look and says Danny Buderus scores a try that might just win the game for Newcastle.
Luke Davico pretty pumped up on the bench after that win, a tight one against the Rabbitohs at Telstra last Sunday. He's been missing from the NRL for almost 2 years, but it's been quite a journey that has taken him from Canberra to Newcastle. He joins us on the show tonight.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no, pleasure to be here.
Nice to be back in the NRL, I take it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's something I never thought would happen a while ago, but now I'm back. I'm loving it.
And from Canberra to Wigan and now Newcastle. Fair journey.
Yeah, it was. For someone that's looking at packing their whole family up and moving them halfway around the world for 3 months and coming back, I wouldn't suggest it. But it was a devastating thing that happened over in Wigan. We were really enjoying our time over there after we moved from Canberra. But in saying that, one door shuts and another one opens. So if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have ended up in Newcastle.
Why did you want to continue playing? Because you had the pec muscle twice, you tore it, and obviously the risk would have been high doing it again. Why did you want to come back and play?
I asked myself that question a million times. There were times where I thought of putting the cue in the rack and calling it a day, but with the amount of injuries I've had that have sort of probably cost me a fair bit in terms of rugby league. I just wanted to try and finish my career on my own terms. So probably that was the biggest selling point. And when I got back from England, I was a bit up in the air, and Newcastle got in touch with me, and I thought, bugger it, why not?
It must have been frustrating at times throughout your career when you were on the verge of playing representative football and all of a sudden injury took that away from you.
Yeah, I seemed to have sort of killed a Chinaman in that regards. When my name got bandied about for rep footy, I got struck down by injury, but that's part and parcel of the game, and unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. And if I sat back and thought about all those times, I'd probably be a bitter and twisted person, but that's the way it goes. So I'm just happy to be back on the field and enjoying myself.
Mate, you must be excited playing with Danny Buderus. There's probably no better hooker in the game.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Danny, along with Joey and Steve Simpson and the younger guys as well. That was probably a big key for me moving to Newcastle. Half of it was probably lifestyle, and the other half was those players. And you don't realise until you actually get to training with them and get to play with them just how good they are. Danny Buderus is just a freak.
Mate, look, there was an article in the paper where Brad Thorne was saying that there's not the confrontation like these days with the forwards back when he was playing, before he went to rugby union, there was the big physical battle with the forwards. Now the forwards are looking at the little guys to get at, like the Benji Marshalls or whatever. Yeah. How's it changed for you as a front rower? Has it been the same?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm only one game back, so I guess I'll find that as I go. But the game is quicker and the game changes a lot. But I think that the little guys you run into these days are so well built and so well prepared to, deal with the bigger guys coming at them. They can sort of stiffen you up as well. But I guess there's probably not as big a clashes as there was going back a few years. But it's probably because of the quickness of the game, maybe.
How was the fitness levels on Sunday?
Terrible. Fitness level wasn't too bad leading into the game. I think it's just match fitness. There's no substitute for that, so that'll come, I guess, in the next 3 or 4 weeks, hopefully.
And there was a lot of talk about the surface leading into the contest. How did you find it?
I found it fantastic.
Mate, they don't move much.
Yeah.
Didn't go from underneath you.
I was on the railway
didn't
tracks.
Shake the ground.
No, so when you run as slow as I do, it doesn't really matter. But look, I found the surface was fine. I think a few guys had a few queries on it, but no dramas from me. You've
got a very strong squad of forwards up there in Newcastle, so you've got to make sure that you're playing to your optimum every week, otherwise you can find yourself back in reserve grade pretty quickly. Yeah, well, I did play 3 games in the Premier League prior to this game, which put me in good stead, but I was lucky with Josh Perry getting suspended and Dan Toller getting injured, who was playing some good football as well, that I got an opportunity. So now that I've been given that, I plan to grab it with both hands, and they'll have to work just as hard as I will to get back in there.
Mate, and you've only been there for one game, but why is Newcastle such a different side, a 20-point different side with Andrew Johns and without him? Because you've still got Danny Buderus, Gidley, yourself, all these great players, the Steve Simpson side, you've still got 5 or 6 blokes they could represent. Yeah, that's right. I mean, everyone in the club believes they can win with Joey. It's just a matter of doing it. I think when he's there, I think everyone's confidence levels are so much more higher because, look, he is undoubtedly the greatest player in the world and you can't replace him, but would it be fair to say, Luke, that he thinks for a lot of players on the football field and tells them where to be rather than them thinking it for themselves, thinking it out for themselves? You've hit the nail right on the head there. He tells everyone where to go and what to do, probably 3 or 4 plays in advance. And I think when he's not there, guys probably need to maybe think a little bit more for himself. So I'm sure we'll get there when he's not playing. That we'll get a few victories up.
We saw your reaction on the bench when Danny Buderus got across to score that try. As I said, you were fairly pumped up. Obviously, you've fit in pretty well up there with the boys pretty quickly. Yeah, no, they're a great bunch of guys, and I've been very privileged to be involved with them. It's a fantastic town, as you know. It's rugby league mad. But I was just relieved. The week prior to a game is completely different after a loss compared to a win. So I was just glad that we got a win and could sit back and relax. What about the form of the side over the last couple of weeks? We've seen the Cowboys struggle, back-to-back losses. Newcastle got smashed up by Melbourne, and then it wasn't a great Newcastle performance on Sunday against South Sydney. Do you think the game against the Cowboys took a lot out of the team? I think it did, yeah. I think it took a lot out of them. It drained the guys because they really got themselves up for that game, and I think they were unlucky to lose it. They probably lost it more on their own accord than North Queensland won it, but that just showed the next week getting smashed down in Melbourne. I think it took a lot out of them. So, and I mean, look, full credit to South on the weekend. They did play well. They turned up ready to play, and we probably made a few vital errors that led them into the game, and we got into a bit of a
a slugfest with them there. So hopefully we can move on and get some more form on the board.
There must be something about Newcastle and players returning to the NRL, because Craig Smith has done a sensational job. Was only there last year really to fill in for a couple of games, but suddenly he was signed on for the rest of the year, and here he is in 2006. You'd swear it was Craig Smith of 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, he's just doing a fantastic job, and he's a real inspiration, you know. And on that note, he makes me look like a spring chicken, which is good. I think he's going on 35, almost 36. So, it just goes to show you're never too old. And I think, Craig would probably even say himself he's playing better than he probably ever has. So, I hope he continues.
And of course, if his form continues, the side's form continues. You never know, there might be a surprise grand final appearance for yourself. You could be the 2006 version of Paul Osborne from the Canberra Raiders in 1994. Aussie was a surprise hero that day for the Raiders, and you made a surprise appearance yourself in the 94 grand final. Take us through that story.
That story again. I wish I had $1 for every time I've told it.
But people don't believe it's true, Luke. Tell them.
No, it's quite hard to believe. But as the week had turned out, John Lomax got suspended. Tim Sheens rang me up and said, get to training. I'm deciding between either you or Paul Osborne. As it turned out, he made the right choice, but he said, there's no room for you on the plane. We still want you to come down to Sydney, bring your gear just in case. So I took my boots, took my mouth guard, night before, went out on the town with a few mates, got absolutely blottoed. Woke up the next morning, went to the game, sat in Bay 41, onto about the 4th or 5th schooner, and we thought we'll go around and sit in the dugout and cheer the team on. As we got round there, sort of, a bit under the weather, Sheensy's looked round and, you're in the program, go and put your gear on. Put your gear on. So a bit bewildered, I didn't know what to do, and one of my mates was going, go on, go get it on. The other one was going, that'd be ridiculous. So next thing I went into the change rooms and the guys were getting dressed and they threw me number 47 in the shorts, and next thing we ran out, and I was about to duck into the dugout when the team ran out, but Sheensy was behind me. He said, go, soak it up, get amongst it. Next thing I'm running out, and the people in Bay 41 and Bay 9 that I'd seen on my way around were going, what's he doing out there?
They must have been stunned.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself. So I was probably the 3rd or 4th person in line to get up on the stage and receive your medal. So hopefully I'll get the chance again this year on a different note. It'll be fantastic.
Well, if the fans you were having a beer with were stunned, what about you?
I was stunned because he stunk.
Is that
come on. Statue, how many beers have you had?
Good memories, those ones.
Certainly are. Yeah. They certainly are.
I've got nothing. No, you've got nothing.
Well, I'm just trying to think of other stories, but some I just can't relay to the people out there.
No,
but
sure.
We had fantastic times at Canberra, but just on Luke, I think he'll be a great benefit for the Newcastle Knights, because I think when he gets match fitness, what he will provide for them is good go forward where he lands on his elbows and knees with quick play the balls, and off the back of that, Denny Buderus can get over the advantage line, or Andrew Johns can surge at the line with people coming in to support into holes, and I think he'll be a terrific value for them over the next couple of weeks.
Now, we've just been discussing the test match on Friday night. Have you had a look at the teams, and what do you think might happen?
To be honest, I've only just had a look at it then. I think Australia will win, but in saying that, I think it'll be a lot closer than what everyone's saying, and the Kiwis at $4.50 or something, I think are worth a bit of a bet, but I'll probably be on the internet or something else.
You won't be watching the game?
I'll watch a little bit, but I'll be busy with the kids or something. So
he's a family man now.
Aren't we all?
Yes.
I'm pretty. I enjoy my footy and I love it, but once I've finished training and playing,
Still into the gardening?
I love the gardening.
This man spends hours and hours in his gardening, garden, and he's a clean freak.
Yeah.
What's the word?
Obsessive compulsive.
Obsessive compulsive.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Got to wash your hands all the time?
Not so much the hands, but I dust the PowerPoints probably every day, and vac and the garden. I've got to mow it in exactly the same direction, otherwise it drives me insane.
If you go round to his house and eat something, and say it's a bit of crumbs, he comes up and just wipes up underneath you
with a dustbuster.
Yeah. Oh, mate, unbelievable.
Is that right?
Unbelievable.
Let the hair down the last couple of years.
Just take your shoes off before you walk
We
in
can
the
probably
house.
get you an appearance on Dr. Phil to have a look at that obsessive compulsive thing, and maybe a spot on the Lifestyle Channel doing a gardening show for or something.
That'd be something I'd admire. But for everyone out there, it's the right time of the year now to give your lawns that one last fertilise, so a bit of sea salt.
A bit of sea salt? Is that cash for comment?
No,
Are you on the take from sea salt?
I might put my hand up there, put a
I
few
think,
feelers in.
I think you should. I'll take your advice and give the 3 square metres I have in the inner west a sea salt. Sea salt?
Yeah, it goes good on everything.
Right. There's got to be something doing there off a bit of a backhander, I'm sure. Now, Broncos on Sunday. Big game. Should be another full house, you'd reckon, up there.
Yeah, it will be, yeah. They've all been sold out the 3 games prior, I think, so I don't think this one will be any different. And it's a massive test for the guys with the rep guys backing up. And, I guess whether we'll have Joey or we won't have Joey. So, really looking forward to it. Also on a personal note, second game back. It doesn't get much bigger than Brisbane with the likes of Pt3 and Shane, so it'll be a big test.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for coming in, and it's been enlightening.
Great to be back.
We've learned plenty that we didn't know about Davico. We are off to another break now on the show. We'll take you through this weekend's games in the NRL in just a moment, but not before this very important message about Big League Magazine.
Big League Magazine is the complete guide to the game you love. It's got the best stories, the best photos and hard-hitting columnists who tell it like it is. Plus, your game day lift-out gives you lineups and stats for every major competition. And for the kids, there's Little League, a great little magazine bursting with puzzles, fun and excitement. Whether at the game or watching it on the box, don't forget your Big League.
And to see if Haka is in the football headlines again, just grab a copy of our main game lift-outs around the country tomorrow. Here's a sneak preview of what you can expect in your neck of the woods.
In the Daily Telegraph, for Joey, why the Kangaroos are desperate to send the legend out a winner. In the Courier Mail, in the shadow of giants, Darren Lockyer poised to join the greats. In the Herald Sun, Rio Bravo, the movie star magpie from Brazil, plus Robbie Slater's World Cup fever column exclusive in tomorrow's The Daily Telegraph, the Courier Mail, the Herald Sun and the Advertiser. And in Big League, how kicking has changed the face of rugby league.
Let's get to the man who will play the last test of what will be a 21-test career, Andrew Johns, tomorrow night. Do you feel nervous? Does Andrew Johns, one of the greatest players that ever lived, get nervous before a game like this?
Not really. Early in my career I used to get a bit nervous, but probably close to the event once we get to the stadium, and I understand it's going to be a big crowd. I might get a bit nervous, but playing halfback I try to stay as relaxed as possible. I suppose I've got to be pulling the strings out there, so just stay nice and relaxed.
As a fan of the game, when I look at your representative career, I probably find more highlights from Origin than Test football. I don't know whether that's too hard a call. Do you feel as if you've got to put an exclamation mark on your Test career tomorrow night with a big performance to finish off?
Yeah, I think, I look back probably the last 4 or 5 years in my footy, I've definitely, I suppose, got myself up more for Origin than I have for Test level. But I think it's going to change Friday night. We've had a great camp, and it's my last Test, so I'm going to take the chances, I suppose.
Now, are the Australians expecting Benji Marshall to start the game tomorrow night?
We haven't talked about it really. We touched on him at the start of the week, and obviously, Benji and Sonny Bill we watched a lot of video on them too, but who knows what they're going to do. But whatever they do, we'll be ready.
All right, then, can I just say, before we finish too, there is Jim Beam around here, and they are our great supporters of the Footy Show, but the boys have not touched a drop tonight. Not touched a drop. Maybe tomorrow night. Now, Andrew, just to finish, a few weeks back there, you did say that you'd shave the beard off when you weren't performing in bed. Just between you and me, what is the story? You've gone fairly cleanly shaven for the Test tomorrow night. What does that mean?
Well, I've been away from home for a week and I'm rooming with Ben Kennedy, so I'll just leave it at that.
Andrew Johns, all the very best tomorrow night. Your final Test, the end of a 21-Test match career, and all the very best to the Australians. Well done. Thanks for joining us on the Footy Show tonight. Back to you, fellas.
Thanks, Ossie. And you'll see this game tomorrow night. Big Test match. Australia take on New Zealand. You see it on TV on Channel 9 at 8:30 p.m. from the magnificent Suncorp Stadium up there in Brizzy. I'm up for it. All right, we'll do that a bit later in the show. Now, I used to love watching the boys do the Haka. You like still do watching the Haka? It's one of the great tribal dances in the world. Reagan loves the Haka. As a matter of fact, Reg has done his own version.
Comedy! I said a comedy! I said a comedy! I said a comedy! Comedy into my a comedy into my brain. Cause the cooler says repeat to my brain. Sonny Bill Williams, I'm your fool. bro. Don't leave me hanging like a before you go, bro. I don't feel like playing on Friday night. Wake me up before you go, bro. Unless you're thinking of turning homo. Before you go, hey, bro. Thomas Lula. What a player. Come on, everybody, yeah. Thomas Lula. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. Ho, 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 ho. Go over there. Listen up, Kiwis, moving tide. We'll find mutton tomorrow night. It's been a while since I've heard a band. We'll make love to them. Oh yeah, I'm feeling frisky, baby. Coming in. Woo!
I tell you guys, yeah, I just want to thank Andrew Johns for writing that song. I just don't take it out anymore tomorrow night.
Had Reg been drinking Carver?
He might have had a little bit of Carver.
No sheep were harmed in making
could
of
that take? Honestly, could that be the next New Zealand national anthem?
I reckon that'll be played on the bus trip on the way to the ground tomorrow night for the Kiwis. If something's going to fire them up,
they will. Yeah,
that'll be it.
I'm looking forward to those after-game interviews. I might send Tim Gilbert in that shit.
He's a lunatic.
Speaking of maturing as a footballer and a person, Andrew Johns last night, in his swan song, sensational. Was there or has there been a better kicking display than what Andrew Johns put on show last night? His conversions were just outstanding.
Well, you thought it was going to go to script, didn't you? Andrew Johns, it was a much hyped game for Andrew. Last test match in Australia, was disappointed with the way that it was going to finish for him. Been given one last opportunity and he just controlled everything for the Australian side. He controlled the tempo of the game, and when it come to goal kicking, I mean, he's right up there, isn't he? He just slotted them from the sideline. They didn't look like missing, and what a wonderful way for a champion player to go out.
Yeah, it certainly was a big night for Andrew Johns and his immediate family. A big night for the other Aussies that got to play with a man that will go down in the books as one of the greats. It truly was the fairy tale finish.
Not many people get to go out like this. I was lucky enough by Ricky and the ARL to be given the chance to go out in home soil, and what a performance, you know, win by 50 out there, especially with the way that the Kiwis played last year and I suppose the side they had.
Players and staff returning to their club sides today for round 9 NRL duty following last night's test, one of the most brutal on record. Kangaroos debutant Carmichael Hunt was knocked out in an illegal tackle, and the Kiwis' character has been questioned after celebrating Hunt's sickening state.
No one wants to see anyone get hurt in rugby league. You know, well, personally, I don't want to see anyone get hurt anyway. You know, I've been through a fair few injuries, and you don't wish it upon anyone. So to wish injury upon anyone's the wrong thing.
The hit was good. You know, it was unfortunate that he fell into it. You know, but just the sort of, you know, the dude's out cold.
Amazing, the man cheering Hunt's misfortune the loudest was Broncos teammate Tame Tupou. The pair spoke today at training, all seemingly forgotten, at least from Hunt's memory.
Yeah, I just saw him in the change room. I was having a bit of a laugh with him. I mean, the boys told me that when I got hit, he was cheering and all that, so I was giving him a bit of stick, so yeah, he was all right.
Australia sending Andrew Johns and Ben Kennedy into representative retirement with a memorable and clinical 8-2 victory. Johns then clearly stating his intentions for the remainder of his career.
My priority now is club football, and you know, I'd like to win a couple more premierships or a premiership before I finish.
We are good mates, and I played a lot of footy with him, and it was just great to be there in his last test. You know, he's, if not the greatest player to play.
The Kiwis crashing back to earth after winning last year's Tri-Nations. Their defence on the right-hand flank opening up in the second half, and the Aussies went straight at it.
You know, we make no excuses. We put our best team out on the field, and you know, we just got outplayed.
Got Ben Kennedy here. It's the question on everybody's lips. How did you feel kicking that goal?
Terrified. I tried to talk them out of it, but they all jumped on me and said, kick it. So in the end, I kicked it, but she was pretty ordinary.
Well, I'm just about to go and get Johns on Kennedy. Before I go, I want to get Kennedy on Johns. You've played your last test together. Must be a special moment.
definitely, mate. He's a great mate. One of the greatest ever, if not the greatest. And, you know, you cherish every moment you get to play with him, and I really enjoyed that one.
I've got Kennedy on Johns. Now I want Johns on Kennedy. What do you got to say to the old bloke?
Oh, mate, you know, he's one of my best mates in footy. He's an inspiration to play with. He's emotionally charged in these big games, and that's what you want. Everyone loves playing with him, and it's been a pleasure to play with him and to know him.
Good on you, mate. Congrats on tonight, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Benny.
Quite simply, it doesn't get any better than this. Sunday afternoon at the Footy with the sunshine beating down on a near full house at Energy Australia Stadium with two quality teams. Welcome to Newcastle. It's the Knights and the Broncos on NRL Sunday. I'm Andy Raymond, and this afternoon I'm joined by Laurie Daly. 4 cracking games today, and we kick it off in style.
Yeah, traditionally this is always a tough and bruising encounter. Both teams have plenty of strike players throughout their roster. It should be an absolute cracker, and one that I'm looking forward to calling.
Of course, there are several players backing up from Friday night's test, and for all the latest team news, let's head down to the sideline with Greg Alexander.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Well, combined, these two sides had 7 players involved in Friday night's test match. It's certainly the game this weekend that had the potential to be most affected. But the good news is we've got 6 out of 7 backing up. The one to miss out will be Michael Hunt. He's out of the lineup. Darius Boyd goes to fullback. Brent Tate will play his first game for the Broncos this season. He starts on the wing. In the forwards, Tony Carroll is out. Brad Thorne comes into the second row. David Stagg drops back to lock, and the new bench player is Ian Lacey. For the Newcastle Knights, well, they're as per program. So Johns, Buderus and Simpson not only playing but starting the match. Earlier, I caught up with the Newcastle coach Michael Hagan and asked him about his team's recent form.
No, I think we need to improve a bit on what we did last week against South, against a quality team like Brisbane. There's no doubt about that, and I think it'll be a high-quality game today.
How much consideration was given to the 3 test players backing up?
Well, I guess the feedback on them was all pretty good on the back of the game, and I mean they all, I think, pride themselves on backing up for the Knights, and if they're happy to play, well, they're going to be pretty important to us this afternoon.
Darius Boyd, fullback for the Brisbane side. Joey terrorises fullbacks even when they're Australian fullbacks. I think we could take it as read that he'll get tested today.
I think he's played a bit of fullback as a young bloke, and I mean he's doing pretty well as a winger for Brisbane, but he'll be under a bit of pressure today, as I guess all the back 3 will be for both teams.
Thanks for your time, Michael. Good luck.
No trouble.
Michael Hagan playing it down a little bit, but you get the feeling young Darius Boyd is going to serve his apprenticeship on a windy day here in Newcastle today.
Well, plenty of experienced fullbacks have come here in the past and failed against Andrew Johns. Darius Boyd, I'm sure, would be looking forward to the challenge of going head-to-head with the number 1 kicker in the game in Andrew Johns, especially if he gets those torpedoes right this afternoon. It could be a fascinating battle at the back.
They are still filing in by their thousands here at Energy Australia Stadium. Let's have a look at the table as it stands midway through round number 9 of the NRL Premiership. North Queensland and Melbourne Storm both on 14. They meet next week. This is the clash between 3 and 4. The Bronx and the Knights, then it's the Eagles, Dogs, the Raiders now into the top 8 and the Sydney Roosters. Down the bottom, the Eels, the Warriors, and South Sydney yet to record a victory. Only about 15 minutes now until kick-off between the Knights and the Broncos. Stay with us. It's NRL Sunday. Everyone's warming up for the contest. Referee Tony Archer in the middle of Energy Australia Stadium. No doubt soaking up the atmosphere as well, because the Novocastrians are here en masse.
Years ago, did the referees warm up like that in the middle of the field, Andy?
I don't think so.
No, neither do I. But it's great to see them being professional.
All following in the footsteps of Hollywood, Bill Harrigan. Well, the Knights and the Broncos, 2 great sides that both came into the competition in 1988. Both have tasted premiership success. Head-to-head, it's the Knights 8. The Bronx 18. In fact, the Broncos have beaten the Knights more times here.
Well, both clubs save their best when they face off against one another, and last year in round 13 the Broncos got the better of the Newcastle Knights, but Newcastle, up until that stage of the competition, they hadn't won a game. Andrew Johns missed a lot of football through injury. They were playing very ordinary indeed, but at the back end of the season they showed us what they're capable of. The first 6 weeks of the competition they were dynamite. All of a sudden they've had a flat spot over the last 2 weeks, but I think this is the game that the Newcastle side were looking for. a team that will certainly bring the best out in their players and inspire them to bigger and better things.
Yep, good news for Brent Tate. He certainly has battled injury over the past couple of seasons as we once again head back down to the sideline for the coin toss.
Okay, Darren, good luck. Andrew, good luck. Play we go, mate. It's a tail. What do you want to do? You can choose either. Okay, kick off. Which way you want to run? I'll run that way. Okay, good luck.
Joey, you look through the Brisbane side, it really is a full package, isn't it?
Yeah, strong forward pack. Heard a whisper that Tony Carroll might have dropped out, so that's an advantage for us. But we can't let them lay that platform and let Darren Lockyer have too much room to move. He'll cut us up, but we think it'll be a tough game.
And I'm sure if there's any sort of come down after Friday night's test match, this big crowd here will do plenty to lift you and the team.
Yeah, it's tough backing up, but it's always something that the individual has to really challenge himself. And personally, I try to pride myself on backing up. So hopefully do my best today, mate.
Good luck, Joe.
Thanks, Brent.
And I dare say his best will be good enough as we have a look at Michael Hagan talking to the engine room, Craig Smith and Adam Woolnough. And I tell you one thing I'm looking forward to today is Craig Smith up against Shane Webke. I say it respectfully, but two old hardheads.
Yeah, and it's a big responsibility, as you mentioned. I just think he and Woolnough have got a big job today. They are going head-to-head. But Craig Smith, what a revelation he's been with the Newcastle Knights over the last two seasons. Last week against South, certainly one of their better players. Played 60 minutes, made 34 tackles, 175 metres. He's been in outstanding form, Craig Smith, and they will need him to be at his best again today.
Stability has been a key for Michael Hagan as we have a look at the Newcastle team card for today's round 9 clash against the Broncos. They are 1 through 17 as named on Tuesday. The big news for you Knights fans, all 3 test stars are backing up in Johns, Buderus and Steve Simpson. Laurie, you've seen both sides. You know their form. Who's your tip?
Oh, it's always difficult, Andy. I'll just go with a home ground advantage, Newcastle Knights, and the fact that Andrew Johns is playing.
To NRL, and the third place Brisbane Broncos travel to Newcastle to face the fourth place Knights today. 11 tries were scored all up, but just 2 points separated the sides, and this was a ripper.
Hugs and cuddles had the Knights a little soft to start the match. Tame Tupou opening Brisbane's account in the 13th minute. Newcastle hit back. David Siege on the end of a beautiful Clint Newton pass. 3 minutes later, Steve Simpson scored. The Knights hitting the lead 10-8. But Brisbane regained it soon after. Darren Lockyer with a perfect ball to Tupou. The Kiwi international making quite a name for himself.
Too hard to stop.
Just seconds before half-time, the Knights went ahead by 6.
Final play of the half. Last tackle. Johns to Gidley. He gets it to Carney.
Matthew Gidley was left feeling sick after a hit by Tupou. 2 minutes back from the break, a neat touch pass by Gidley put Carney in again. But Brisbane hit back, scoring 16 straight points. First, Darius Boyd scored. Then Lockyer crossed, giving the Bronx a 6-point break. Just when it appeared that the Broncos had the match, the Knights squared it up at 30 points all. Brisbane were penalised, and Andrew Johns put Newcastle ahead by 2. The Broncos going for the win on the last play of the game.
Points in this game. Lockyer, he is the man. He kicks ahead. The Knights are there. Gidley is there.
And that was it. A 6-5 win for the Knights. Wingers Carney and Tupou both crossing twice. But Brisbane coach Wayne Bennett not convinced the result was fair.
It's 50-50 call, isn't it? You know, I think if they don't lose the ball, he probably doesn't blow the penalty, you know. They lost the ball and So he thinks he's got to do something, so he blows a penalty.
A very important win at home. I think we've lost our last 2, so just keeps us, on track a bit as far as the year's concerned. And it wasn't our best performance, but a pretty gutsy performance.
Australia regained the world #1 tag and their pride following that league test. The Kangaroos thrashed New Zealand 50-12, dominating all over the park. The match also the last representative appearance for star halfback Andrew Johns. Will we see another like him?
And what a cracker of a game for him.
The other thing about Andrew Johns, I don't know if we're going to talk about him in the Newcastle game, but God, it's extraordinary when you put Andrew Johns in a team. I mean, the effect that he has on Newcastle. With him, they win by either 2 points or 50 points. Without him, they lose by 50 points.
Amazing. It is the Johns factor.
He's the best player in the world. He's the best player of all time.
He's probably the best player we've ever seen. And the other night in the test, 8 out of 9, he bangs him over from the sideline and he doesn't even kick round the corner.
No.
Who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to somebody that went on tour with him and Matthew Johns. Well, we're doing it here. But what they said was that whenever you're with Andrew Johns and Matthew Johns on tour, they just always had a football in the bus. Other guys would be playing cards and doing stuff. They'd just be twiddling it around.
I met him for the first time a couple of weeks ago in Melbourne. He was there for a game there, and I was amazed at his stature. He's a very small man. He's big through the hips. Yep, big fat ass, as Matthew constantly
ages ago, Mr. Chairman,
points out.
I was trying to organise, Australian sports people for the Republic. They all ran for the hills. Who came forward? Matthew Johns and Andrew Johns. They were there. They turned up.
Well, they'd be pretty high on your books then, wouldn't they, Pete, for that very reason alone?
And it is a very special night. A really big night for us, and Brian, very welcome. I see you've had a trim.
Yes.
The locks are gone. You're looking flash.
Respray, yep.
I just wanted to ask Brian, I mean, we all know about it in Australia, but what about your country? Your family's spread right around the world. Your father's in Hungary, your brothers and sisters are in New York. I mean, the world, what do they know about this mining disaster?
Yeah, loads. I've had a load of phone calls from Ireland talking about it. It's headline news over there. I mean, the deepest we've gone down is digging for potatoes, but these men are 1,000 feet or 1,000 metres underground. It's a sensational story. I can't wait to hear what they've got to say.
Well, of course, your family's been involved in coal mining up in the Hunter area for many, many years.
Yeah, like as I said this morning on the Today Show, myself and Andrew, we're the first blokes to break tradition in the Johns family. I'm a son of a miner's son, and so on. Look, I take my hat off to all miners because I tell you what, the old man, he had a few close shaves, and a lot of his mates didn't make it. It's such a treacherous way to make a living. And tonight we're just going to celebrate probably not only those guys, I think all miners, it's just a tear.
Were there times as a child that you feared that your dad mightn't come home?
Sometimes you get a call in the middle of the night, and you're sitting up, and I remember one night, right from midnight right till the morning when we found out he was okay, so it's touch and go. Hard way to make a living, Fat. Hard way to make a living.
The people down there have gone through that emotional roller coaster for a fortnight now. Like we kept 48 hours, another 48 hours. I think we've seen a display this week of the qualities that Australians love, like the generosity and the perseverance and the spirit and the mateship, and it's just been wonderful. Obviously tinged with devastation with Larry Knight, but jubilation at the end.
Just before we cross down there, of course, we had a great night on Sunday night because this show on the Logie. Proud of it. As a matter of fact, we're too kind. Only one of 2 Channel 9 shows on the night that won a Logie.
Oh,
this is the 3rd one that the show has won, 2 in a row, and so we're very proud of it. And need to thank, of course, a lot of people, including the fans of the show, and also, of course, all the players and coaches who have come on the show and made it the show that it is. And, of course, we're going to thank some other people, of course, who work behind the scenes a bit later in the show, and they deserve all the accolades. So we're quite proud. Thank you very much for your support. Now, we've got plenty more happening on the Footy Show coming up very, very soon. Reagan goes nuts at the Logies, let me tell you. Look at that jacket. What a star. It was one of his very... Oh, and there's drama, let me tell you, with that bloke, Chris Knopf. They get it on. Let me tell you. And so you'll see that very, very soon. All right, now, of course, there was plenty of action happening on the weekend. Of course, and the Australians back to their very best form under the coaching of Ricky Stewart. Well done, Rick. And they had a magnificent win over the Kiwis, boys. And they just decimated them, especially in the second half.
Well, it was just, honestly, it was one of the best Australian sides you'd see. I mean, the combinations in the side, but also experienced players at the very top of their game, Pete.
Now, Brian, we've got the International Tri-Series coming up at the end of this year. Great Britain, after this performance, will you blokes turn up?
Well, it doesn't make pretty viewing if you're a Great Britain fan. They're pretty awesome, actually. And to see players like Danny Buderus, I don't think I've ever seen Danny Buderus play as well as he is now, and it's ominous for Great Britain, but we'll aim up.
You'll be here. Yeah,
and a great game, of course, on Sunday. The Knights took on the Broncos with the Knights coming out 2-point winners. And you scored a couple of tries, Brian. You seem to be enjoying yourself on the end of that back line outside Matt Gidley and Andrew Johns.
I've never played with somebody like Matt Gidley before. It's that easy. It'd make anybody look good playing outside him. It's a big win for us. I believe the Broncos have a reputation for, winning these tight games and coming from behind. So we were delighted just to stick in there and, win it just by 2 points in the end.
And just most importantly, Brian, you got the new haircut. Has it changed anything with the ladies? Any luck?
Yeah, nothing to report yet.
Okay.
Well, I'll get my teeth fixed.
Well, mate, you do need those teeth.
I think you're the best right winger they've had since Justin Ryder.
Yeah, cheers, mate. I've met Justin Ryder. Thank you. Yeah. I'll speak to you later.
But you're loving it up there, obviously.
Yeah, it's a great place, great team, and everything I hoped it would be. The competition's everything I thought it would be as well.
Very good. Now, of course, we won the Logie on Sunday night. It was a very remiss of myself and Paul Harrigan, who made the speech, to leave a couple of people out, so we're going to make up for that tonight. If you glance over here, I'm just going to walk over and introduce you to these people. These are the people that work so hard behind the show every week. I know when you look at them, it's hard to believe. We've got Stephanie, Jackie, Amanda, she's a triathlete, black belt, Andrew. Now, look at this bloke, Buck. I know it's hard to believe. He's actually 65. We like giving the old blokes a go because of your grey hair, mate. So congratulations. Thanks for all your hard work. All right? Good on you.
Just like the Logies, I don't know what you people think, but there was an incident at the Logies where there was Leighton Hewitt and Beck Cartwright, and they got their baby up on stage. It caused a little bit of controversy. There it is there. Look, I don't know these guys. I think I'm all in favour of celebrities showing off their kids. And
what's wrong with that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Because we've seen some incidents over the last few years where celebrities have done it. I think it's gone down real well. Just take a look at some of these. I mean, there's Steve Irwin. So I thought that was a great touch. I just didn't think there was anything wrong with that whatsoever. Very safe. And, of course, the famous one. Please, people, is that fantastic or what? Wacko Jacko, what a father. Father of the Year in 2005. Love you, guys.
Go great.
Absolutely.
Now, it was a great night at the Logies. A lot of us had a lot to drink, including the magnificent Reagan. And this is a two-parter. You'll see the good part later, but this is the first part. This is the clean version of Reg.
The black label later.
At the Logies.
G'day, Reagan here, and guess what, baby? Everyone wants to talk to me. And why? Because I've won 2 Logies in a row. That's right. NRL footy show, baby. Let's go and have a chat to these punters. How are you, Nat?
I'm great, how are you?
How'd you go tonight? I wasn't there for the gold Logie. Some of the stiffs threw me out. Did you get it?
I lost, but...
Who won it?
John Wood.
You can't be serious.
He deserves it.
He does not deserve it. John Wood is a good name for that bloke. He's like a piece of wood.
Hey, that's... no! I waited for about 10 minutes for that.
How you doing?
Good.
Well? A little lower. He was a really good mate of mine. You'll see him on the ABC occasionally when he switches on. His name's Merv. Merv Hughes. How are you, old son?
My name's Dave Hughes, but Merv will do.
Sorry, I'm just a big fan, Big fan of everyone.
Are you loving it, mate, or what?
I'm loving it. How good is it?
Crown Casino.
You know you've made it, haven't you?
Everyone's a winner at Crown. That's why normally everyone's wearing tracksuits,
Standing here with an old girlfriend of mine. I had to break it off. She was just too stalky.
Shut it.
Megan Gale. Megan, stop being so bitter. How are you, Dale?
Yeah, I'm good. You said you were going to call. You never called.
I had a few on the go. You know what it's like? Always had trouble with commitment. What are you doing with yourself these days?
What am I doing with myself? Trying to keep myself out of trouble whilst mending the broken heart you left me with.
And do we care about the Parramatta? What's his name? The president of Parramatta? Dennis Fitzgerald. Right, who said that Storm shouldn't exist? Well, how many games have you lost this year? Ha 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 ha! Okay. Our teams win the comp this year. Yes, we will. In fact, Fatty said we could. Good. Do you reckon we'll win the comp this year? I think you can win it, Molly. Right. I think you can win it. What are you doing later?
I want to know, when's the best coming back to the Logies?
Yeah, well,
that's the question I think people want to know.
Well, let me tell you something. There's that guy from Sex and the City. They call him Big.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you, he calls himself Big, but I reckon it's more like that.
Yeah,
he's fine.
Yeah, I cupped him before. I went up and cupped him, and it wasn't big. It was not big.
Pete, he's mine right now.
Let's go get it.
Standing here with a bloke on Sex and the City they call Big, because he's got a big donger. Is that true?
Well, show me yours. I bet mine's bigger than yours.
I doubt that. Closet homo.
That can't be real, right?
It is. I doubt so. I'll have a go. Italians. So what did you think about the show tonight?
I thought it was really, really long.
It was?
Yeah.
I know a lot of things that are very, very long.
Do you?
Exactly.
Great. Excellent.
But you, lesbians, wouldn't know too much about it. Or former lesbian. You're not a lesbian now?
No, I'm not a lesbian. No, I'm married.
Oh, you're married?
Yeah. To the cameraman, actually.
Are you?
Yes.
He's a good man.
Yes, he is indeed.
Have you got a favourite rugby league team, Ray? Is there someone you root for?
Yeah, I do go for the Storm, who are doing very well for themselves at the moment. Sorry, Rabbitohs.
Yeah, mate, how good are they? Who's your favourite player in the Storm? Sorry?
I passed. I don't know.
You just love them all.
I do. Oh, it's like that.
Mate, what about Sonia Kruger?
She's a good sword, isn't she?
Tell you what, she's a good sword for a transvestite. She has, doesn't she? Is she a tranny? She's not. There you go.
You ought to get a couple more KBs in here.
Yeah, shouldn't ya? The AFL, at the moment, they're struggling to hear the horn. Can you fix that?
Everything's in the AFL, the way they play the game, that short, indirect shit that they play, and we haven't got enough money to buy loud noises.
Why don't you come to the NRL, mate?
Red, why don't you get
all the years of disappointment when you're sitting there and you just had nothing. Tonight, to be finally recognised, you know, did it just feel like, did you just like have an erection, John?
No, that wasn't the immediate reaction, I have to tell you.
Well then, Reggie, and that only gets better later in the show.
Pretty exciting, isn't it? Like the old days.
But John's with it. He's still going, Buderus. He's still going, Demi. Go on, Demi. Put it down. Enjoy the moment.
When you look back now, what makes you most proud? What's the vivid memories for you?
Well, you brought it up to the modern days. I'd say being here tonight representing those that couldn't make it is one of the greatest favours to me. I appreciate it.
Australia 50, New Zealand 12 is the full-time score.
Well, Dave, it's great to recognise tradition. Arts Crippin coming into the boys on Thursday night. And again, after the game, it's nice stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, terrific. To see him there, played in 1936, hard to believe. And I mean, cherishing the game's traditions is what it's all about. Great night for our team, but a great night for the game, and great to have him here.
Here we are, you wouldn't believe we're in the bush. And of course, during the 80s, I had the privilege of playing with one of the greatest second rowers of all time in Noel Crush at Cleal. And Crush has got a new venture, it's bush cooking, and please make him welcome Noel Cleal. Noel, you had a great career, of course, and of course, not 87 we won the comp, but you, of course, were one of the great New South Wales players, and in particular, in view of the City Country game tomorrow night, you're one of the great country players.
Fabulous. That period of my life, particularly that week when and Sterlo, you were involved in it, we went to represent country, and the whole week was sort of based around being a bushie, although we're living in the city. It was a bit of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is, of course, in the early days, we were able to play for the City team. And here you are running about, 70 metres to score a try for the City.
Mate, great try, but something just caught my eye there.
Yeah.
Support?
Absolutely. Here's another try in the country jumper.
This is the next year in the country jumper.
And they were great days, and I loved playing in the country team when there actually were some country players who came along, but just, I caught something out of the glimpse of my eye. Can we have a look at that I don't know if you can respill. Who, coming up in support?
Go the fat, on the inside. Give it to me, Crusher. Give it to me.
What are you doing?
I'd have scored too, I fell over again. Unbelievable.
So the dummy had the show and go, mate.
That's right.
Show and go.
Mate, did you, I know you still live down here, but did you ever settle into city life, or are you still a bushie struggling with city life and
got a
we'll
friend,
end up one day, what's going on
behind
here?
We'll get to that in a minute.
Have you settled into city life, or you're still a real bushie at heart? Can't wait to get back.
Well, Pete, it's a bit like this. I've got to get away every now and then, and probably every 4 to 6 weeks. And it usually encompasses a game of footy somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm struggling to have a chat because we've got. I'd say that's. I'd say I've got a fair idea who is under that. Who do you reckon to be the horse's ass?
That'd have to be Brian, and I'd say Matty's up the front because he's the towy one. Now, Crusher, tell us what you're doing,
What's
mate.
this
You've
venture,
got all
mate?
the pots and pans. You're embarking on a brand new venture.
It's just watch the back end there.
Oh, kid.
It's Crusher's Bush Tucker. It's a.
Oh, yeah.
That'll do me.
It's salty.
What's salty?
Yeah.
Not the first time.
I think it should have a swab, that horse.
Now, of course, Reggie Reagan, we saw an earlier a bit of Reg. Here's the next bit. Reg at the Logies, part 2.
John Wood won a Logie.
What's he going to do?
I saw him out the back doing these ones.
That's why I voted for him.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. That dancing show you're on.
Yeah.
Daryl Summers, is he a tosser or what?
Nah, he's a good bloke, mate.
He's a tosser.
Really? Have you been eating pies?
Hey? Dave, I know you're not gay. Stop sitting on the fence. Tell me your favourite team. I know it is. It's the Bunnies, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing the Bunnies get a win, but other than that, don't have a team.
Dave, me and you sometimes spar, but at the end of the day, I like to think of us more as lovers. He had a heart on. Can I just say that you are a fantastic spokeswoman for every transvestite in the world?
Oh, thank you. I am a man inside a woman's body, yeah. Yeah.
Because I reckon you're a good sport.
I've got the real fingers and the real neck, but you know, I am a girl. I'm just a very tall one.
Oh, okay. Look, I apologise. I didn't realise. Great to have you again.
You haven't had me, but nice meeting you.
No worries. Nice Adam's apple. Now listen, what about dances with whatever it is?
Yes.
Daryl Summers, give us the inside scoop. Goose?
What on?
What's he like as a bloke? We all reckon he's a knob.
Daryl?
Yes.
He's in fact quite delightful. I know. Who knew? I haven't seen you. You never ring.
What's
you
that?
never call.
I know. I don't know what it is. You're just getting too old.
You're irresistible, you know.
I know that. A couple of lesos getting together. What did you think of the awards ceremony? Mate, you should have been on stage. Instead of that little bit of Daryl Summers.
There was a lovely moment at the end when Bert walked past me and went, if I have my say, you'll be hosting this next year.
Exactly, and you got my say as well. Let me tell you something, I've got Eddie's ear. standing near a bloke that he attracts controversy. And not only a good bloke, but a closet poofter. Sammy, how are you, mate?
Has that got round that I am now? Has it?
It has.
I was speaking to a bloke in the pub and he said, when you get home, why don't you turn your missus over? There's a whole new world on the other side. And I said, what? And risk getting her pregnant?
Sammy Newman, Fat. One of a kind.
One of a kind.
He's a freak.
The Channel 9 cameras this afternoon will be out at Campbelltown Stadium to watch the Tigers take on the Knights. Should be a very, very interesting game. Plenty of stars in action there. Let's see how the teams line up. The Tigers, Benji Marshall coming off the bench again as he did last week. Hodgson back, a few players backing up from that game on Friday night. Robbie Farah back in the hooking role, and he's the bloke that leads them around, Pete. What an excellent player he is.
He is. He was a little bit quiet on Friday night in his first rep game, and I'm sure he'll get plenty more representative football throughout what's going to be a very good career. I thought both teams, including this one here, the Knights, were very good last week, showed character to win in tight matches against pretty good opposition. It is a great clash, the Prince and the Johns one, but so too the hooking one you mentioned, Farah and Buderus. Not easy to go to Campbelltown and get a win.
Had a little bit of mail that Benji could even start. I've talked to a couple of the players and they're saying that could happen. He's coming back to fitness now, so it's a good opportunity for him.
This was a great game last week, a really high quality game of football, and both sides had tied international stars playing in that one. Robbie Farah is the key. I know everyone talks about Benji Marshall and whether the Tigers can win without him, but Robbie Farah is almost as important to them, not from a psychological point of view, but just from a pure football point of view. An outstanding crowd out there today. They've record sales in the area. If you're going out there, get out there early.
And it does show what a difference 6 months can make. Today's game, the reigning premiers up against last year's wooden spooners. Mm-hmm. But going into this weekend, Newcastle were third on the ladder. The West Tigers 8th on percentages. They're both going to be a force this year.
Who do you think will win?
I think the home ground advantage, and I think they might be a little bit flat from that big game last week, the Broncos. I know the Tigers had a tough one at Lockyer against Manly, but I just got a feeling that the Tigers will get home in this one.
I'm going to go the Newcastle Knights because they've got a fresh Andrew Johnson, because they didn't have a lot of representation on Friday night, but the home ground, Tigers in front of a vocal crowd does worry me.
I'm going for Joey. Yep, they'll win.
Okay.
Joey confident about the rest of them.
That's it, they'll win.
Yeah, early in the week I tipped the Knights, but I'm leaning towards the Tigers mainly because of Campbelltown. I know what 23,000 screaming fans out there can do, and when Benji Marshall does get on, whether it's at the start or at the back end of the game, I know that he'll be fantastic. You'll see the game, of course, 4 p.m. this afternoon on Channel 9 after the AFL.
Well, I know we copped a little bit of criticism about not showing last night's game between the Cowboys and the Storm as our Sunday game, but gee, I don't know how you can criticise picking this one. I know it's not 1 versus 2, but these two sides you just know are going to put on a crackerjack.
Oh yeah, and the Storm, they have won 5 in a row as well. I mean, they weren't going that good 5 weeks ago when that game was picked.
I can't wait to get to Campbelltown. I just know that we're going to see something special this afternoon.
Very good. All right, you'll see it at 4 p.m.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Absolutely glorious day here in Campbelltown. Let's start with that team news. And Newcastle 1-17 as per the program. They arrived yesterday and they are all ready for the big one. West Tigers just one change. Ben Galea is out of the side. He has a hamstring injury. Chris Hyington will come into the 13 and big Keith Galloway will come onto the bench. Tigers, of course, they're playing the Knights today. It is Mother's Day. There's a Mother's Day theme right throughout the day, as there should be. Mothers are so important. Here's a couple of the Knights.
To all those mothers out there, just wishing you a very happy Mother's Day. Hope you have an enjoyable day. In particular, to my mum, hope you have a great day also. And remember back in 1990 when I said the car rolled down the hill, well, that didn't happen. It was really me taking it for a test drive. Have a great day and see you soon.
Hi, it's Matt Gidley from Newcastle Knights. I'd just like to wish all the mothers a happy Mother's Day today, especially mine, who's been a plenty of footy over the years with the 3 boys and had to put up with Kurt for a long time now. But enjoy the footy this afternoon and have a wonderful day.
Matty Gidley, we look forward to him this afternoon.
As examples shown there, like Brett Carney's last week for the Sharks was just a fair dinkum hack from right in front of the post. Where are they getting it wrong, Gus? The modern era teams all right at the moment. Is it in the setup?
Most of the missed kicks are caused by pressure.
pressure of the situation because you haven't practiced, or pressure from the opposition. And the thing that I've always tried to impress on players, when you're working for a field goal, if it's at the point of the game where you need a field goal to win or to extend your lead to a 7-point margin, it's pretty obvious the opposition know what you're doing too. So there is going to be pressure there. So if you're working for a field goal, they're working to stop it, which means you've got to set up right. And I think it's all in the setup. You've got to look at the field goal kicker you want.
This is 97 grand final. Matthew Johns was the setup right here. This would have won it. Darren Albert would not have even been put into history.
Well, Gus actually talking about that bad setup. I knew that if I received the North City one to get us in the grand final, I received it from that. I had a certain part of the field I used to like to set up to. In that game, I've taken it from a bad side, and I used to slice it all the time. So part of that, no doubt, is the setup.
It's a setup. You go to your field goal kickers and say, if you could play the ball where you want it to kick a field goal, where would you like it? And the rest of the team have got to know that's the spot. If you creep up on it just one tackle at a time and the defence rests, they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. So you've got to have a little bit of ball movement. You've got to end up there, I reckon, around about tackle 3. If you wait till tackle 5, you're no chance. And you've got to have an escape hatch, because if the ball comes back to you and the pressure is too great, you've got to have somewhere to go. Sometimes it can produce a try.
Luke Predicitons in 2003 grand final.
Yeah, I remember the plays that we used to have, MG, where we would actually set up for a field goal, dummy, let the defence go, nearly score a try, then while they were retreating, throw it back, and the bloke would have an age, he could roll a cigarette before he kicked the ball. And I think it's all in the setup. If you set up right and give your kicker the best position on the field and the most time to do it, and he knows he's got an escape hatch, he doesn't have to kick it. If he knows there are people waiting there to spread the ball, if the pressure's great, I can go bang, and we might even pull their pants down and score a try, then you're more relaxed about it.
Can we not use that expression? Can we not use this pull the pants down?
I think we should get Wade McKinnon on the show one day, just stand there with the moon.
Well, maybe not. That's not a bad suggestion, but maybe not.
At Campbelltown Stadium, the Knights opened their account in the 11th minute against the Tigers. Andrew Johns penetrating and passing off to fullback David Sieg.
Scores for Newcastle.
The Tigers hit back moments later, though, through Daniel Fitzhenry, but it was the Knights leading 12-10 at half-time. The home side, like most sides, struggling to contain league's greatest player, Andrew Johns, orchestrating another victory, 18-6 to Newcastle. Brian Carney scored the Knights match winner there with just 3 minutes remaining.
Steve Simpson, test forward, ready to go in Origin when picked tomorrow, I'm sure. Steve, what about that? That is just a victory of rolling your sleeves up and hard work.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be like that down here. We've had some tough encounters against the Tigers down in Campbelltown, so yeah, no exception today. It's a great game and just great to be a part of this and for the win.
Just put us in your shoes behind the goal line after the Chris Hyington try, after Marshall has set alight this crowd. Did you think it was gone?
No, we were pretty composed actually. We just knew we had to do the hard work again, and hopefully if we grounded out enough we might score a point or a try at the end. So yeah, a little bit of magic there from Brian. It was great.
Great effort today, Steve. Well done to the Knights and good luck tomorrow with New South Wales selection. Steve Simpson.
No doubt that both Brett Hodgson and Steve Simpson will be in the New South Wales lineup. State of Origin less than 2 weeks away, and we look forward to that with bated breath. The Newcastle Knights, a real gutsy win. It backs up a great performance against Brisbane last week. 2-point wins on both occasions, and they are going to be a real force this season. 3 tries apiece. Siege, Steve Simpson and Carney got tries. Fitzhenry, Orford and Hyington for the losers. 18-16 at full time. A great weekend of rugby league. Thanks for your company. Stay with us now for National 9 News.
On the eve of State of Origin selection, the Knights and the Tigers put everything on the line this afternoon at Campbelltown. In other games, the Bulldogs defeated the Eels, Penrith beat Souths, the Sharks over the Raiders, and the Knights edged out the Tigers.
Another example of John's skills opened the account at Campbelltown. But Collis produced a pass just as good, and his teammates did the rest.
There's a try coming, surely. In they go, Fitzhenry.
The Marshall step and sleight of hand gave Alford his chance.
Showing, still going.
And on the tick of half-time, they had another shot. Trailing by 4 with 10 to go, the Tigers turned to Marshall again. The Knights seemed mesmerised. The crowd was chanting and the lead was heading their way. In a hold-your-breath finish, Newcastle escaped by 2.
Carney put a kick on it. Carney will score.
Right. All right, Knights took on the Raiders, and Timmy Gilbert has looked after this game for us. Go, Tim.
The high-flying Knights at home to the Raiders, and something rarely seen at Energy Australia Stadium, an Andrew Johns mistake.
I don't think we'll see that too often. Andrew Johns' pass not hitting anyone.
The Raiders capitalised a minute later.
Into a yawning gap goes Carney. Ball back on his inside to Michael Hodgson, and the Raiders have scored first.
The attractive piece of work had the visitors up 6-0. The very next play was ugly.
With an incredible error. They will know.
The local boys started to ease into their work. John showing why he is the best of the best.
Ball to tie into open space. Howard come in.
Joey was at it again a few minutes later as Newcastle continued to build pressure.
Gidley to his right, Riley Brown to his left. He goes left to Brown.
Then you could be excused for thinking Joe Montana was in the Knights' number 6, as Kurt Gidley's blatant forward pass wasn't as obvious to the officials.
He caught it on the line. He passed it 3 metres before the line.
A sideline conversion from the captain, and it was 6-all.
As Andrew Johns has rubbed salt into the wounds by kicking the goal from the...
The Knights continued to find holes in the Raiders' defence. Matt Gidley coming up short.
Carney again. He's got the fullback to beat, and he's chipped over the head of Shaboski for some reason. Awkward bounce.
No problem when the older of the Gidley boys landed one of his trademark flick passes.
Back to Brian Carney, and this time he scores.
Another sideline conversion, and they were up 12-6. But the Raiders did have the chance to square things up just before the break.
Ball to Withers. Can he get it on the outside? He can. Croker has bombed it, has he? Injury.
The unlucky David Siege succumbed to a hamstring injury, while George Carmont injured his ankle. Meanwhile, Joey Johns got in trouble from the ref.
And Johns has thrown it away.
The tenacious Raiders made the locals pay with a great ball from Simon Wolford.
Scores. The decoy run came from Tom Leroy Large.
But the night belonged to a Knight, Brian Carney making it a hat-trick.
Mullen now to Kurt Gidley. They must score. A hat-trick to Carney, surely for the corner.
And what about this conversion in torrential conditions? The weather had turned vicious very quickly, and the teeming rain slowed things up a bit for both sides. But the Knights had one more try in them to put the result beyond doubt.
That is a terrific try for the Newcastle Knights.
Newcastle home, 22 points to 12, and on top of the ladder. This time last year, they hadn't won a game.
Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show on an absolutely gorgeous autumn day at Aussie Stadium, and as you can see, last bit of a clean-up job being done before this afternoon's big clash between the Roosters and the Rabbitohs. Now let's have a look at those injuries from last night's game. Starting in Newcastle, George Carmont has an Achilles problem. Didn't take any part in that second half. David Siege, how unlucky is David Siege? He has injured his hamstring, and they'll both have scans over the next few days. Just spoke to Steve Crow, and you'd expect neither to play next weekend.
It's round 11, 1992, and in Wollongong, Canterbury Bankstown's mercurial playmaker Ewan McGrady looks sharp as he set up Darren Smith for a super-duper Bulldogs try. But the boot of Ryan Girdler would get Illawarra home, the young centre landing 6 from 6. At Parramatta, it was vintage Brett Kenny as the Eagles topped the reigning premiers in the local derby, 20 points to 0 no less. And drama at Campbelltown as Newcastle winger Tony Herman scores a late 8-point try. His rival David Anderson almost costing the Magpies a win. Ah well, boys will be boys in 1992.
This is the Sunday Roast, just taking you back 14 years there. An 8-point try, Matty Johnston. Tony Herman. What a thrill Tony would have this morning seeing that replay.
He's a good bloke, Tony Herman. Look, you know, the year after that, actually had a dynamite year, 1992, with the Knights, and actually come within a whisker of making the World Cup team. So there you go, a bit of trivia. And he's got a hang gliding business up in Newcastle, mate. So, g'day, Tony. Keep well, mate.
You said something else he had.
Hey?
He almost made the World Cup team.
The World Cup's good. You know, back then they had the World Cup. There was some...
Tony Herman almost made the World Cup.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
True story, Gary.
He did, yeah.
Tony Herman?
Yeah, he had a great year. He did.
So there you go.
All right, Gus, I quoted Steve Roach earlier in the program that they can't run without eyes. Now I'll quote Mario Fennick. Touch judges have their eyes painted on. A pass last night for Brian Carney's first try for Newcastle against the Raiders. Gus, how did they miss this?
Look, I've got no answer for you.
If he was coach, I'm telling you now what would happen. This what would have happened. You would have got the message out to the captain who had said, we're coming off. Hands up, we're not playing anymore.
That was one of those ones where you put your hands on your heads and say, we're not playing if you're going to allow that.
This is gridiron.
Yeah, we're not playing if that's ridiculous.
Come on, guys, what about the inertia rule?
The inertia. Look, I want to take you a little bit left of field of that with it. I think that referees and linesmen have hidden behind the video referee coming up with decisions that they now have got out of the habit of making an instinctive decision on things that they see. I would have think that it probably crossed their mind, gee, that's gone a long way.
Well, he was in line with it. The touchy was in line.
That's gone a long way forward, but they just didn't say anything.
No.
You cannot have missed that ball floated 3 metres forward. It wasn't from here to there, maybe. It was 3 metres forward. If that decided the competition, what would happen?
Lovely piece of finishing by Carney.
Bring back Martin Weeks. At least he comes on this TV game.
Well, look,
TV Weeks.
Forward passes have been around since 1908. We can live with them, but it doesn't mean that every time we see one, we just say, oh, that's fair enough. It's disbelieving that they could possibly miss that one last night.
Newcastle had a lucky start to their clash with Canberra. This forward pass from Kurt Gidley going unnoticed.
The ball came out of the hands forward and it continued forward. Not a little way, a long way. The crowd around me was laughing.
I didn't think it was forward, not from where I was standing.
Carney scoring a hat-trick in the downpour to send the Knights back to the top of the table.
Let's take a look at the NRL ladder, where the Knights now sit on top. The Bulldogs, one of 5 teams on 16 points, while the Roosters climb into the 8. The Dragons and Panthers not too far behind, while the wait continues for Souths fans. Today's loss, their 10th straight this year. From NRL to State of Origin, and New South Wales skipper Danny Buderus has sent a major scare through the Blues squad after failing to complete today's training session because of back spasms. Panthers hooker Luke Predicitons has been placed on standby.
The Blues could find themselves in a tangle if their captain fails to overcome back troubles after waking up sore this morning.
He's a bit sore in the lower back, you know, whether it's a muscle twinge or a bit of a twitch. I'm not a medical expert, but he's a bit sore. The doctor's fairly confident, but at the same stage, there's got to be some doubt there.
While it's unlikely Buderus would miss Wednesday's series opener, Murray isn't prepared to take any risks.
If the medical staff was to ask me to go light tomorrow, I would do that as well. He's a very important part of the team, and he's a captain and one of the best players in the game.
Craig Wing trained at hooker in today's hit-out, but it's the Panthers' Luke Predicitons who's been named a shadow player for Buderus.
He was thought of very highly in the selection meetings, but obviously Danny was the best hooker, and we see Luke Predicitons and Craig Wing as the next two.
Blues captain Danny Buderus has pulled up sore with a back problem, which will need checking again tomorrow morning. Buderus showed no signs of trouble when the team returned to camp today, and even an unplanned tangle during training was more embarrassing than hurtful for the New South Wales captain. But Buderus later complained of a back twinge. He sat out the rest of the session. Penrith's Luke Predicitons is on standby. Despite plenty of controversy over a blatant forward pass, Newcastle is now top of the table. The Knights defeated Canberra.
One Kurt Gidley pass created controversy in the Newcastle-Canberra clash.
That ball's gone forward, surely to Carney.
Asked about the pass, try scorer Brian Carney turned on the Irish charm.
You got me there. I didn't think it was forward, not from where I was standing.
Canberra's coach not amused.
The ball came out of the hands forward and it continued forward. Not a little way, a long way. The crowd around me was laughing. I couldn't believe it.
Carney had the last laugh, scoring a hat-trick in the Knights' 10-point win.
Meanwhile, the Blues are still sweating on skipper Danny Buderus being fit for Game 1 of the series on Wednesday.
Just 2 days from the Origin opener, Danny Buderus still unable to train with his teammates. Hampered by back spasms, the skipper instead heading for the treadmill. Coach Graham Murray to give him as long as possible.
I just look at the calibre of bloke he is, and he's tough and he wants to play, so I'm leaning towards he'll play.
Ken with Sport next, and Danny Buderus still no certainty to play in the State of Origin opener.
Mark, the Blues captain will be given until the last minute to prove his fitness. Blues captain Danny Buderus remains in doubt for Wednesday night's first State of Origin game. His back injury is still causing concern, and at this stage, Buderus is rated only a 50-50 chance of playing.
Buderus arrived with the rest of the team for training, but was taken away from the cameras for a private session in the Aussie Stadium gym. When he emerged 30 minutes later, the New South Wales captain offered this.
Another day's rest and see what happens in the morning.
But you're feeling a bit better today?
I'm walking a lot better anyway. Yeah, so anti-inflammatories and whatever, and see what happens tomorrow.
5 for 6. We all agree again?
As we said, that time of the year again, State of Origin, Rugby League's greatest showpiece. So let's go back to that marvellous series last year.
Over 52,000 fans packed Suncorp Stadium, believing that their beloved Queenslanders were on track to an emphatic victory after leading 19-0 early in the second half.
Here's Lockyer, Crocker, he's over Michael scores!
But the Queensland supporters' joy turned to horror as the visitors then went berserk, piling on 20 points in as many minutes.
The Blues are on their way! It's the comeback! Gasnier scores! Here's King down the right side, throws the ball inside, they're in again, the Blues! Danny Buderus scores his first Origin try!
It took a 79th minute field goal from debutant Jonathan Thurston to send what was a thriller-diller into Golden Point extra time.
Jonathan Thurston calls for the footy. He's going for the one.
There's the shot. It's come off the ball.
It's gone over.
He's got the kick.
It's gone over.
He's got the shot in.
It's ricocheted off a blue and gone over the sticks.
It is level at 20 points all now.
And then, a moment Queenslanders will never forget.
Intercept for Bowen. That's the end of it. Bowen has his hand in the air. Matt Bowen scores. Queensland have won. State of Origin won.
Game 2 and the Cynics were out in force, querying whether Andrew Johns should have been chosen for New South Wales. Over the past 2 seasons, he'd only played 9 competitive games when he was called up to replace the injured Trent Barrett. Go Joey! How wrong the critics were.
Johns, dummies! He breaks the line! Johns has gone to the 20!
Johns looks inside, then
Runs again! Johns is in space! Puts a kick in!
40-20.
There's a 40-20, it's there!
that's Origin. 1 second, you're down there with a chance, you've got the points counted, and then they hurt you at the other end of the park.
It was the Andrew Johns show as the maestro turned in a performance that many claim to be the finest exhibition of rugby league they'd ever seen.
Here's Johns now. 10 in, 20 out. Struck it well. It's there.
But in the 69th minute, it was Matt Bowen again, trying to get his team back in the game.
Short ball.
Here he goes. Matty Bowen at full pace. Bowen scores. Another Origin try.
5 minutes later, New South Wales skipper Danny Buderus assured a victory for the Blues after a glorious inside ball from, you guessed it, Andrew Johns.
The Newcastle captain to the New South Wales captain. Origin 2 will go to the Blues now.
Game 3, the decider.
Queensland have kicked off. The end of the 24th series is underway.
This time, again, over 52,000 at Suncorp Stadium to see the banana vendors wrap it up. But their dreams were dashed when the Blues overran a surprisingly lacklustre Queensland side.
Johns is dangerous, and Astor's over. Ladies and gentlemen, there is the first try.
Johns again the architect of victory, but it was the dashing fullback Anthony Minicello who shaded him as man of the match. In the 27th minute, the second New South Wales try of the night, a high kick from Andrew Johns.
Chances the kick. There's plenty of chasers. They got a try out of it. There's a try for Gasnier. 4 Origin matches, 4 tries for Mark Gasnier.
When New South Wales winger Matt King scored his 3rd try in the 65th minute, Queensland were done and dusted, down 28-0. Game 3 to the Blues, 32 points to 10, a memorable 2-1 victory in the series, and for the first time in State of Origin history, they moved ahead of Queensland in head-to-head wins.
Yeah, that was. It was absolutely memorable, and Joey Johns. That second game,
what can you say?
That was such vintage stuff.
Interesting the way he moves, because I mean we were talking about Wally Lewis before, and what they used to always say about Wally was he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the most skilled, he didn't have the most accurate pass. Somehow or other though, if there was a sniff of a way through, he would find the way through. And similarly with Andrew Johns, if there's a way there,
same
he
with
gets it.
Chris Judd, you know, Phil, Lottie Takuri in rugby.
They don't fall over either. Yeah, they've got the slowest centre of
And
gravity.
they've got the whole peripheral vision or something or other where they can sense where the gap is.
They always have lots of time.
Yeah, I love the way that you watch other players. Andrew John's not going that quickly, but they're all trying to predict what's going on. They're mesmerised. They're like a snake charmer. And then he says, "Oh, you think I'm going to throw it there? I'm going to run there."
Yeah, but so that little jinking run he did, it actually wasn't lightning. It was just beautiful. It was just bang, bang.
There were some slashing tries and a couple of fiery stouters as well over the weekend. Hello everybody, and thanks for joining us on NRL Scoreboard as we look back at round 11 of the Telstra Premiership with Gary Freeman and Wayne Pearce. Gents, how are we?
Very, very good. I'm in the hot seat.
You are.
In camp with the Origin team.
Laurie Duss, speaking of the Origin team, before we go any further, of course, drama in the New South Wales camp. Danny Buderus still struggling with a back spasm. You would imagine they'll give him right up until kickoff if need be.
He's such a key player in the side, and I think we saw yesterday with the Knights just how tough they do it without Danny Buderus on the field, and I think the Blues will be the same, so they'll give him every inch of time that they need.
Now, let's take a look at the points table, and as we do, I want to tip from each of you. We're all not quite at the halfway mark. Who's your favourite to win the comp at this point in time?
Well, you have a look at the table there, and 5 teams jam-packed at the top of the competition. It really is hard to pick a winner at this stage, but Newcastle, if they can keep Andrew Johns on the paddock, I don't think they can still win the comp. No, I don't think they're good enough.
With Andrew
No, I still don't think they're quite up to it. I think they're struggling a little bit for depth. My team, Smokey, Melbourne. I think they lost on the weekend, but I just think that they've got they're pulling players out of the North Brisbane competition, North Sydney competition, and Craig Bellamy's turning them into superstars. Greg Inglis.
Yep, at their best, a very good team. Now, who for you?
Yeah, well, look, I picked Newcastle at the start of the year that if Andrew Johns does stay on the field, that they will win it, Junior. But other than that, I'd say that there's 2 other sides will be there to contest it. It's the Bulldogs and North Queensland.
Did you ask for 3 teams or just one?
I'm just saying.
I thought one was the request.
Well, you can't have one playing against nobody, so I'm picking some other teams that play against Newcastle.
No, I'm throwing Newcastle.
Covering my bases.
Can I pick 3 teams as well then?
No, you've already said one.
No, you said one. You've had no. You're gone. You're gone.
Fair enough.
You're out.
Now it comes from Johns to Kurt Gidley. That ball's gone forward, surely to Carney. Over in the corner. He's going to award the try. The Canberra Raiders can't believe it.
The ball came out of the hands forward and it continued forward. Not a little way, a long way. The crowd around me was laughing. I couldn't believe it.
Well, the Raiders were poised for an upset against the Knights in Newcastle, but Brian Carney and the weather reigned on the underdogs parade. Oh, and a fella called Johns had a fair game as well. 22 points to 12, the final scoreline. We'll get back to Brian Carney in the past in just a moment, Liz.
Yeah, we certainly will, but didn't he have a great game? Look, the best thing about the Newcastle game is that they used the ball nice and wide, along with the Canberra side. Even though the weather was very, very bad for them, they actually promoted the ball very well. I thought for 2 sides of football that were under all sorts of pressure. It was Andrew John's show once again, just his passing, his kicking game, really putting pressure. But defensively, Canberra went up. They're willing. They got off their line quickly. They got numbers into the tackle. And that's just something that the coach, Matthew Elliott, would have liked to see. They've been struggling over the last, about 4 weeks ago. They were letting heaps of points in, but defensively for the first 20 minutes, mate, they were very, very strong.
OK, now, you've always said it shouldn't be the NRL, it should be the NFL, because you want every play stopped and looked at every time the ball hits the deck, don't you?
What do you do this for?
You do.
How come when Junior sits in this seat, you never, ever give him a hard time?
So, you know what? We had the NFL on Saturday night, and it came on this next play. Joe Montana was playing for the Knights in the number 6 jumper and threw a touchdown pass to a wide receiver who scored in the corner. It was the NFL, Gary.
Mate, it certainly was. And the touchy on the right-hand edge there should have picked that up. That's very disappointing because at that stage of the game, the Canberra side, like I said, defensively, were very strong. All the players stopped. They looked at it. Matthew Elliott has turned around and said, and everyone was laughing. I think some of the commentators, Mark Braybrook, picked it up that the pass was a mile forward. It went forward, except the people that matter. The referee, the touchy, the video
Well, look at the circumstances. Look at the environment. It was heavy rain pouring down in the eyes of the touch judge, in the eyes of the referee.
Oh, you want me to look through here and go, oh, that's a forward pass?
No, it was a shocking decision. I mean, it really was. And in the context of the game, it really did have an impact. Because,
It did.
Because, I mean, it really was an arm wrestle in those conditions. And Newcastle, they won the game. They didn't play well. Andrew Johns played solidly, but he didn't play up to his usual best because I don't think he had the sort of service that Danny Buderus and the combination that Danny Buderus provides when he's there. And I think we just saw how valuable Buderus is at the side as well.
How do we fix it then? How do we fix that?
I'm not a proponent of going to the video referee on forward passes because that one's extremely obvious. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we will get back to what we were doing before.
Yeah,
it was, there were line ball ones and there's that forward. We're looking at everything.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. You can't go back to it. We're just going to have to live with that one, obviously, because it's gone. And we're probably going to see more before the season's out. But it's better copying that and getting on with it than going through the drama we used to have in the past.
Referees will make mistakes. I mean, that was a blatant mistake. That was a bad mistake, and no doubt the referee will be coached on that, and hopefully he won't make that same mistake again in his career. Because it was a shocker.
Needs coaching because he was right in line with the pass, and I agree with you, Warren, that we can't go back and look at those 4 passes with the video referee. Total support from the wizard to the wazard.
There you go. Now, the Knights, they weren't happy this next play wasn't referred to the video referee, but Jason Robinson was right on top of the situation here with Matt Gidley getting the ball down what must have only been millimetres from the line.
Look, and the best thing about it, that the referee made a decision. He didn't go to the video referee. He was in perfect position. He thought that the ball pulled up short, or maybe he didn't even touch the ball or knocked it on. So that's why they went back out to the 20-metre restart. So for me there, at least the referee gave himself an opportunity or get himself in a good position to make a decision.
Very good.
But no touchy was there.
Prompt call.
Absolutely.
No dramas. Now, Matt Gidley played a key role in this next try to Brian Carney, which gave the Knights the lead. But the Raiders responded through Phil Graham just after half-time. Lovely little Gidley flick pass. We've seen about 5,000 of those during his career.
Yeah, and Carney has worked a tremendous combination now with Matt Gidley out on that right-hand side. But the Raiders, they struck back. They weren't going to be denied in easy fashion. They made a real contest of it. And at home up there, I mean, the Raiders were terrible the previous week, but they bounced back, they showed character, and they pushed the Knights all the way.
The Knights did a super job of forcing the Raiders to make goal line dropouts, and the pressure eventually told with these next 2 tries the result. That made the scoreline 22-12, and that was all they needed.
Yeah, it was, but the big thing about it, when you look doing 8 dropouts, the pressure's going to mount. The amount of tackles that the Canberra side had to make, over something like 401 tackles in the game. But like I said before, with the rain coming down and the way they still utilise the ball, Newcastle, that's how they play their footy. That's why I think they got a great opportunity this year to come from last to maybe win the competition if Andrew Johns and all their key players, Danny Buderus, stay on board.
Now, how about the goal-kicking display by Andrew Johns in what was trying conditions, especially in that second half? There's the one off Carney's first try. Similar story off the second try, also from wide out. And then the one in a moment will show you into the rain, into the wind, is just sensational.
He just does it so easy, doesn't he?
It's Michael O'Connor back at Aussie Stadium, or the Sydney Football Stadium, 1992, was it?
Looked like he was pretty pleased with that too, Joey. Just have a bit of a look to see how it goes. Give the thumbs up. Well done.
But what a great player, though. Like to put those kicks over from those positions on the field, the pressure's on you. You want to make sure that you give your team a good opportunity to try and win the game of football. The Canberra side were playing some pretty good football too. Defensively, like I said, they only missed 27 tackles in the game, which was very, very good.
Now, Clinton Schifofsky was worn out from having to kick dropouts in the second half, so he decided to come up with this variation to get possession for the Raiders. Has there ever been a more finely judged goal line dropout? That was magnificent. Just magnificent.
Mate, that wasn't a dropout. That was a grubber. That's a dead set grubber.
It's like that game where you throw the coins up against the wall. Whoever gets the closest to the wall.
Closest wins gets the light.
Coins, yeah.
But do you see where the referee was again? Jason Robinson.
Right there on top of it.
Right on top of it, there to make a decision. He saw that the ball touched the line, play on.
Apart from the forward pass, they've brained them up there. Haven't they, the officials?
Hey, listen, if he's only made that one mistake in the game, that's not that bad, because I tell you what, there's a lot of players out there, week after week, will make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mistakes, and they don't get dropped. So I'm not going to hold him a gun to his head there, Jason Robinson, for missing that pass or the touchy. But I think Mr. Finch might.
Well, and that's all that matters in the end, because you don't make the appointment.
That's right.
Thank goodness.
Oh.
You imagine it.
I'd like to make one last comment on that game. On a serious note, Wiz, can we get back to serious matters of football?
This is great.
The Raiders, put it in context just how well the Raiders played. They had to make 134 extra tackles than the Knights. So that's 22 sets of 6, basically, that they had to make an extra tackle. So in those conditions, grinding conditions, to stay in there as long as they did up at Newcastle just shows that there's a lot of fight left in the Raiders for this season.
Yeah, they were phenomenal because the first 4 sets of the second half all came to the Newcastle Knights. They took the ball in the field, got a goal line dropout, and they just kept coming at one stage. Now, you mentioned it already. Souths were looking for something just before half-time, and they found it through Adam MacDougall.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great for the last few weeks, Adam MacDougall. I suppose he got a taste of rep football again last week when he played in the City Country match. And this is the sort of form he's been showing for most of the season when he's been on the paddock. He's had a few injuries, but when he's on the paddock, he's just one of the most difficult players to defend against. He's got tremendous acceleration, tremendous strength in those thighs, and we know he does plenty of talking to those thighs, don't we, Dukes? But he was great.
Is that the greatest myth in the NRL? Started by Matthew Johns, that Adam MacDougall actually talks to his thighs.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, but
you've coached him at Origin level.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear him talking to his thighs?
No, I didn't actually hear him talking to his thighs, but once there
What about his ankles?
No, but
he does these ones. Don't let me down.
No,
Don't let me down.
I was sitting there having a little bit of a chat once. And it was looking at it was an evening. There was a few bats hanging up the side down in the trees. He says, "I wonder how bats go to the toilet." Those are sort of things that the Dukes throws out, pulls out of the blue, you know.
Got to do with this stuff.
No, but I'm just talking about how he's a strange, interesting player.
You've got me, Jim. Oh, God.
This is some sort of show tonight, isn't it, hey? What a ripper we're having here.
You know what it is?
The bat's up in the trees, going to the loo.
You know what it is? He's got the pink shirt on with the Wizards. He doesn't know what's going on.
Can we get back to football? Stop talking about bats.
What about the return?
I'm crying now. Let's get back to the footy.
Sport is next with Jim Webster, and Danny Buderus makes it onto the park tonight.
Over the first hurdle, Deb, he's out there training at the moment. The latest for you shortly. The New South Wales Blues are having their final training run at Telstra Stadium tonight ahead of tomorrow's State of Origin opener. 10 League reporter Adam Hawes joins us. And how's Danny Buderus doing?
Tim, in the words of Coach Graham Murray, he's still not across the line. The good news is Buderus is training at the moment here with the Blues. That's his first run since last Sunday, but he says he's still in pain from that back injury. He was one of the last men out of the tunnel with Tamana Tahu. He'll be given right up till kick-off to prove his fitness, but Luke Prittis, the standby hooker, he's out there training also with the Blues. Tamana Tahu, as I said, he was also training. He's overcome that virus. He should be okay to play.
And Danny, there's some big State of Origin news also.
Look, some amazing news breaking in State of Origin. I've been told that Craig Gower was injured late today at training, a collision with Steve Menzies. He was forced to go to hospital for scans, a knee injury, and amazingly, an SOS has gone out to Andrew Johns. So tonight, Andrew Johns could be called back into the New South Wales State of Origin team. Amazing news.
OK, Danny Weidler out there at Cronulla, and the back injury to Danny Buderus is still causing plenty of concern. Despite training tonight, the Blues captain is still struggling, but there was a little good news. Centre Tamana Tahu has been cleared to play.
Buderus and Tahu were the last of the Blues to get onto Telstra Stadium tonight. Tahu has been suffering from a stomach bug, is considered a certainty to play in Origin 1, while the captain is on the improve, but his back is well off 100%.
Yeah, there's pain there. I know what sort of pain there is to play in Origin. It's the most physical game you can play, and I'm not going to go out there half-hearted.
If it's needed, Buderus will be given until the final minute before the teams run on to take his place. But he won't be given any painkillers to help get him across the line.
I've still got 24 hours, but in saying that, I want to be fair to the team. They come first before me.
In a good sign, both players completed their final training session, but there's an anxious watch on Buderus.
I look forward to making a decision somewhere tomorrow.
OK, it's time now for a change of pace as we go head-to-head, and still on last night's Origin, this incident involving Danny Buderus could well have changed the outcome of the match. Should he have been penalised for his retaliation? Dean Ritchie and Mike Coleman, you have 60 seconds head-to-head.
Absolutely not. I mean, what has State of Origin come to? For goodness sake, it was look, he got need from the very first place, Buderus. He's not a dirty player. There's no way Danny Buderus as captain would retaliate, particularly in possession, 20 minutes after his own try line. If that's what State of Origin is to come, count me out.
There's no way he would do that, you're saying. He did it. He did it, Dean, and he's got to be penalised. He should have been
provoked, it's State of Origin, as you say. It's the hardest football there is. For the captain of New South Wales to do his nana, almost lose the game, it was an absolute disgrace. If Finch hadn't kicked that field goal, Buderus would be hiding his face in shame today. He was lucky he got out of jail.
What's a disgrace is that touchy running in with the knowing all the cameras are on. Matt Checken, I think his name is.
Nothing to do with that.
What was he doing coming?
Nothing to do with that.
There was nothing in it.
I'll tell you what, if it had been a Queenslander who'd thrown the punch, you'd be saying he should get 5 weeks and he'd probably get 9.
The paranoia starting to come out. Another loss, the paranoia, poor old Queensland.
Look,
we never get the even.
We're talking about State of Origin. We're not talking about the Forestville Ferrets where you are a local legend, Dean. This is State of Origin football. It's got to be penalty. It's got to be harsh penalty, and it nearly lost in the game, and fair enough too.
You're wrong.
We want to thank both camps for the access that we've got to the schedule. We'll come back and have a chat in a minute, but the Chief and Benny Ikin went in and caught up with the players after last night.
Such a great effort from the boys, very proud. Played really well, defended well, and true to Queensland, you know, they always come back at you, and the game's never dead until that final siren.
Dallas Johnson could throw the punch. Talk us through it.
Yeah, ludicrous. We defended so well. I didn't think it would be worth the penalty anyway, and I didn't think the touch judge had said or need to come on, but me and Sean said something after the game, and we'll just leave it at that. What happens on the field stays on the field.
And boys, turning points, I thought in the second half, New South Wales leading 14-0. And that incident between Eric Groth and, of course, Hodges led to a try 1 minute later. Now, I'm not condemning any of this. I think I was in the same boat as Eric Groth or Hodjo. I'd be into the blue as well. But what happened from there was that try a minute later, and then it was game on for Queensland. It really started to fire up. Here we go, a little something. Come on. Knock it over. Bang, all right. There's no problems. No one got hurt. It's good. It's okay. But there was a turnaround from there. And, Pete, something similar happened later on in that game.
Well, probably the most controversial call of the night was Danny Buderus being penalised after playing the football and throwing a punch at Ryan Hoffman. Now, this is what Ryan reacted to. There is a bit of an elbow there from Danny.
Oh, yeah.
I still think it's play on, but I can understand the touch judge coming on. If all he had seen was Danny Buderus throwing the punch, then that's fine. Got no dramas with that. But I still think it was play on. Of course, Queensland scored out wide. Jonathan Thurston converted. What did you think when you saw that kick go over to make it 16-all?
It was... I wish it had missed.
You can't swear you can swear on the show, but
yeah, he kicked two rippers from the sideline, and we just knew that we had to have a big defensive set. That we were pretty calm, actually. We realised we had to give ourselves good field position and don't give Queensland a shot at a field goal that very next set, so...
I thought at 16-all, I thought Queensland had momentum, and I thought extra time and we storm home and win the game, but not to be. Brett Finch is the hero, and Brett, thank you for your time tonight. Play well on the weekend against Broncos. Brett Finch. Yeah, well done, Mark. And you'll see Mark in action tomorrow night up there at the Energy Australia Stadium. The Knights at home to the Dragons. You'll see it at 8:30 on Channel 9. And I would imagine probably playing Origin last night might have tipped him back in the favour of rugby league and staying with the Dragons.
Well, if it does, then there's something wrong. And the Test match too, I think a week or so ago. Can I just say about that game, Buderus, Simpson and Jared Mullen still under suspension whether they're going to play tomorrow night from the Origin duties. And a big crowd expected there. They've sold 20,000 tickets already. The other 8 will go before then. Big match.
He's a rare talent, Mark Gajan. I think it might have an effect on negotiations from now on that rugby union do get involved in. It comes on the back of a fairly protracted one with Andrew Johns. Yes. I think they've spoken to Braithen Astor talking about Ryan Cross and Willie Tonga. I just think that rugby union will now come in sparingly and they will get a deadline much earlier. I don't think they would appreciate the long process that they've undergone either.
I don't, but it's a big coup for rugby league, because you would imagine, union just chipping away, taking the key players over the years. If Joey would have left and Mark Gasnier would have left, we would have a totally new outlook on what the union is doing. We just can't cop that anymore. It's a great news for rugby league.
Well, it's the last thing you want is kids saying, one day I'll play rugby league, but one day I want to grow up and play for the Wallabies. It's not what it's about.
Not if you're a leaguey.
Is it a positive that the top 4 teams are based outside of Sydney? Right now, the top 4 teams are based outside of Sydney.
It's great.
He's got it. He's just got it.
That's what it's all about. Short and sharp.
Some have got it. Yeah,
just like his sex life. Yeah. Good. Pam.
Mate, I've heard about your little nudger, mate. It's okay. It's all right.
Like
Good
a
night,
battered
Joe.
salmon or rosebush. Seriously, I think it's a good thing. I think it's good.
I love the fat bottom.
Button on a fur coat. Yeah.
Now they say big nose, big toes.
They're second and two. We're like in the top 14.
I don't even know. I know Melbourne's
Yeah, it is a
there.
good thing.
Melbourne's done
Very
great.
healthy, and it just adds to the fact we've had 7 different premiers the last 7 years. Unpredictability makes our
But
competition.
just can I butt in again? I can't.
Go on.
Can
No,
I?
go on.
Okay, I think it's great that.
All right. And question 5. By how many points will the Maroons win Origin 2?
-2. Oh, I'm on fire.
Yeah, I don't think they will, Fat. Sorry, I don't think they will.
You don't think they will?
No.
I'll be surprised if they turn up, Paul.
I think they'll win and win easy. Could be 20, 30
You
points.
run a tight ship, Fatty.
All right, tight ship, yeah. I like the Titanic.
New South Wales skipper Danny Buderus is again set to defy the pain barrier and line up for Newcastle against the Dragons tonight, but fellow Blue Steve Simpson has been rested.
Tim with sport next, and the Knights sweating on the fitness of Danny Buderus.
Mark, his back is still a major worry, and we're going to talk to Michael Hagan about that in just a moment as the Knights look for another win over the Dragons. Round 12 of the NRL begins with competition leaders Newcastle at home to St George Illawarra and looking for their 5th win in a row. In round 5, the Knights ended a run of defeats against the Dragons with a 54-6 thrashing at Wynn Stadium. But they haven't a good recent record at home against their southern rivals, who need this one to stay on the edge of the top 8. And Newcastle coach Michael Hagan is with us. And Michael, you left that call on Danny Buderus' back very late. How is he?
No, he's pulled up pretty well from Wednesday night. He's a very special player for our club and happy to back up, and we're happy for him to start tonight.
Off the bench?
No, he'll start the game.
OK. Let's talk about the cost of Origin. Steve Simpson is out and young 5'8" Jared Mullen was hurt in the curtain raiser on Wednesday night to be replaced by Todd Lowry. How much of a compensation is it to have Joey Johns there fresh to coordinate a patch-together lineup as we take a look at some of Todd Lowry's play?
I think it's extremely important to our club. I think Andrew Johns, on his performance last week against Canberra when we didn't have our Origin players available, and you look at a bloke like Matt Gidley, who's also been in great form for us. I think they're 2 experienced players and they bring a lot to the football team, and just helps all the young players in a week which is normally a bit disrupted with Origin, as it will be for the next few weeks.
Michael, 5 games during the Origin period. How many would you be happy to win?
I don't know if we really set a number on that, but I think with the likes of Andrew Johns, Matt Gidley in the team, I think the percentage of winning games is certainly high. I mean, Saints will be tough tonight, of course, on the back of Wednesday night, but we'd like to win our share of games over the next 4 or 5 weeks.
OK, mate. Good luck tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Look, it's a big test for the Dragons in rugby league tonight, Barthy. They will take on the Knights, who smashed them back in round 5. And one thing is for sure, the Dragons will again have to stop Joey to survive. We'll have that soon. Round 12 of the NRL kicks off tonight with the Dragons travelling to Newcastle, and Seven's Ben Damon is there. And Ben, the Dragons are out for revenge tonight.
Well, Matty, the last time these two sides met was in round 5 and the Dragons let in 50 points that night. But revenge won't be coming too easily tonight because they come up against a Newcastle side that not only is on top of the table but also has a fit and a fresh Andrew Johns. Sticking true to his word, Andrew Johns refused an SOS call from the Blues this week when Craig Gower broke down. Dragon skipper Trent Barrett turned them down as well, meaning the pair will clash at full steam tonight.
And it might be the last time in a competition game I get to play against Andrew. I'd like to play well.
Johns dominated when these sides met in April in what was the low point of the Dragons season. Joey scored 22 points himself as the Knights killed them 54-6.
It was a fair touch-up, especially at home. On your home turf, it's pretty embarrassing. So we're hoping to turn that around, and we've been playing a bit better.
It's been a season of distractions for the Dragons. Injuries continue to take their toll, but at least contract speculation is finally dying down. Barrett's future's decided, and yesterday Mark Gasnier re-signed with the club.
And you can tell just by talking to him this morning how relieved he is, I suppose, to get out of the road, and it's good for him and great for the club.
Well, Matty, there's no changes for the Dragons tonight. Mark Gasnier came through Origin and he will play. Danny Buderus will play for the Knights as well, but they've lost their second rower, Steve Simpson. His groin injury flared on Wednesday night, so he won't play. Neither will their 5'8" Jared Mullen. So there's a couple of changes for the Knights, but it still looks like a very interesting game up here in Newcastle. Should be a big one.
OK, mate, thank you. Danny Buderus backing up from Origin, and the post-Origin round is always hard to pick. Here are the matches for round 12. Tonight I'm going to stick with Newcastle. They're at home. Same for the Cowboys and the Sharks tomorrow, but I'll go for the Bulldogs against the Broncos. On Sunday, I like the Storm, the Tigers and the Eels to get over the Roosters.
Now take us through the Bundy Run big play, Sterlo.
I'll look after him, Andrew. 9 tries, 7 to the victors, 2 to the beaten brigade tonight. And the first came after 16 minutes, and it was 3 kicks leading up to it before Mark Gasnier scores next to the post. Kurt Gidley unable to control the football. Here's the final kick from the boot of Dean Young. Luke Bailey put the pressure on. Gidley appeared to have it covered, and somehow the fingertip control of Gasnier was good enough. Michael Henderson, a wonderful pickup onto Corey Payne. He got his first of 2 tries tonight after 26 minutes.
This was the best try of the game. Daryl Miller down the left-hand side of the field. Good footwork back inside there to Dean Young. And here comes Ben Hornby. Clear the tarmac. Away he went. 14-0 to the Knights.
Short drop out. Andrew Johns didn't hit that one the way he wanted to. And Mark Gasnier, our man of the match. Some wizardry here, attracting 3 defenders, and Corey Payne out on the wing, minding his own business. Did a great job to get the football down just inside the corner post. That set up a good lead.
And Andrew Johns, just on the stroke of half-time, tried to get the Knights back into the game with an individual try, and here's a good one to the number 17, Danny Wicks. First touch of the ball on the field tonight, scores a try for the Dragons.
That was the first try in the second half, and they had a couple of deflected kicks tonight leading to tries. This one to Trent Barrett after 64 minutes. Plenty of urgency in the Dragons' play tonight. They were always on the loose ball, and this time another kick going through. Make your mind up. Ben Hornby awarded that one. We went upstairs, and the final try, it went in Newcastle. Kurt Gidley making the score 38 points to 12, and that was after 75 minutes. A big win to the Dragons. Let's go down now to the Newcastle dressing room.
And Sterlo, we've made a move from the Dragons dressing room to the Knights dressing room, and we do appreciate the cooperation of both teams tonight. Obviously not a happy night for the Newcastle Knights, and here's their coach, Michael Hagan. Michael, often after a run of victories, the team suffers a loss, and coaches will try and sort of kiss it off by saying, well, it's a loss we had to have. It's a blessing in disguise. Is that your approach tonight or not?
Oh, I guess in the end we've got to concede that we didn't play well enough, and I thought St George probably played their best football for the year and did all the little things in the game very well, defended very strongly, and made it a pretty tough night for us, and we didn't handle as well as we probably should have.
Michael, I have to ask, the captain Andrew Johns has made a pretty hasty exit tonight. Is that Joey just being Joey, or is there something more to it?
Oh, I guess he's disappointed with the fact that he probably didn't play as well as he'd like to play, and the team copped a bit of a touch-up, I guess, in the end. So I guess we all deal with losses in different ways.
All right, Michael, thanks for your time tonight. Let's go over to Matthew Johns with Danny Buderus.
Yeah, cheers, Vossi. I'm joined by the Blues skipper, Danny Buderus. And Bedsy, firstly, I just want to say congratulations again Wednesday night. Look, I talked to one of the Knights supporters after the game. They said, what odds Danny playing after Wednesday night with your back? I said about 1,000,000 to 1. When did you make the decision to play tonight?
Yeah, it's just spasmed up on Sunday, so I did everything I could and Lizzie to really get it right. A few anti-inflammatories, and after Wednesday night, I think adrenaline gets you through these sort of games, and being on such a high, it's easy to back up.
You guys have won a few in a row now, but there's been a general school of thought that you've been a little bit flat and a little bit below yourselves. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. We've got a bye coming up after the Bulldogs, so all week was said that we've got 2 efforts to go. We've got the Bulldogs next week, and we'll finish up on a bye there.
Danny, appreciate your time.
Thanks,
good luck
matey.
for next week and for the Origin series.
Yeah, thanks,
we're going to go to a break now. Stay tuned for more.
The Newcastle side of things, well, Matty spoke to Danny Buderus, who had that back problem going to Origin on Wednesday night. Brian Carney suffered a head knock in the first half, but the doc thought he'll definitely be right for next week. Let's bring Matthew Johns back into play here, because we're in these dressing rooms. I've got to say, look, we do appreciate getting access to the rooms, but by gee, at any other occasion, it's not that special.
Now, this is luxury. This is luxury. You should go across the way to the visitors' dressing room. I'll tell you what we used to do in the early days of the Knights when we were a struggling team. We used to go to the visitors' change room. We used to turn the hot water off, true story, and water it out. Make it an unhospitable comfortable as possible. There's the grounds. Yeah, don't worry about him. Don't worry about him.
Have a look at this. Anyway, we need to focus on Sunday because it's a desperate day for the Parramatta Eels where the dressing rooms are slightly better. I think you're allowed a little bit of bias, Matthew, tonight, and I spoke to Coach Michael Hagan just about Joey and he is frustrated tonight. Gus has had his comments at half-time about Joey, how he looks.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your read on Joey right at the moment?
Look, I think Joey's in a situation. He's such an immense competitor. I think Joey at the moment is a little bit flat. He's given away rep football, and I think he's looking for a new challenge. I think that will come as we get closer to the semi-finals.
I think what Andrew needs to do tonight is go back home and look at the competition ladder and see his team is on 16 points up there with 4 other sides.
You know, Joe, like I said, with Joey, he's such an emotive player, and for that reason, he's up and he's down like all best players are. Look, I'll go back. I'll be able to go in a roll in the bag. I'll go around home and give him a rub and look after him.
All right, and I'll give you last word on the Dragons tonight. What did you make of the whole performance?
Yeah, they were very good. They're a side who looks settled. Gaznia settled his future. Barrett settled his future. They're going to be difficult to beat. Again, you're frustrated by how poorly they start the season. If they started like they did tonight, they could go all the way. I don't know whether they'll be there.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. We're about to go move outside and see Gus jump from the grandstand. That'll be a good way to finish the night. Say la vie, Gus. Friday night footy on Channel 9, though. Big win to the Dragons, 38 points to 12. Hope you've enjoyed it tonight. I know you St George Illawarra fans have until Sunday. Enjoy your footy.
Gaznia passed before he was tackled. It finished up going back to Bailey. Bailey puts a kick across. It's marked over there by the Dragons. Now they've got a kick again. Dean Young this time. He puts it up in the air. Up they go. Mistake made by Newcastle. And it's forced by Gaznia. Now Barrett. Bailey was coming up. The ball deflected down. Henderson away for Payne. And Payne has scored. And Dean Young goes up the middle. Here they come again, the Dragons. Hornby changed gears in midair and then flies over for the Dragons' third try. Gaznia away for Payne. Here's Corey Payne for his second try.
This has been another presentation from Nine's Wide World of Sports.
Hello, I'm Lee Diffie and this is Sports Tonight Saturday. There's no better motivation than to come back after being thrashed. Want proof?
Gaznia away for Payne.
Are the ladder leaders lacking motivation? Joey's tired, decisions went against them. It was a dark night for Newcastle. St George Illawarra has shown it can be serious finals threats with a 26-point thumping of the Knights in Newcastle last night. Mark Gaznia celebrating not only his massive new contract, but the Man of the Match award as well.
From early on, it was obvious St George Illawarra were out to make a statement, charged with the memories of their 48-point embarrassment to the Knights on home turf in round 5.
And Dean Young goes up the middle. Here they come again, the Dragons. Hornby changed gears in midair and then flies over for the Dragons' third try.
Got a good old touch-up last time, but as we said last time, we play a really good side and they've got all their good players playing and they're right on their game, and you're a bit off your game and your attitude's a bit down. Well, that's what happens these days, you know.
The roles certainly reversed as Newcastle's guns failed to fire.
I don't think we played too well, but they certainly are probably nearly at their best for the year. They've come off a bye and plenty of energy, and we're probably maybe at the other end of the scale at this point.
For the Dragons, it was a chance to celebrate Mark Gaznia securing his future in the red and white, providing stability off the field and on.
The last 2 games Gaz has played for us, he's dropped the ball the same one as he scored, and he's dropped 5 of them like that in the past 3 weeks, and I've got no doubt that stuff doesn't help.
The lack of origin duty fatigue helping Trent Barrett make the most of his last season with the side.
That's what I was aiming to happen. And well, that was hard watching it, but hopefully I'll still be feeling fresh come, 2 months.
And with an airborne Ben Hornby ruled onside, the video ref divided opinions amongst the fans at the ground, the commentary and the coaches.
I lost my glasses before kick-off and I didn't know whether the bloke at the end there might need them to help him out a bit.
Whilst it looked so bad, that's the rules, and as I said, we got a bad one and against Melbourne, what we thought was a bad one, but it was good consistency by the video ref, I thought.
The tired Knights face the Bulldogs next week before a much-needed bye in round 14.
Now, Friday night, Dragons against the Knights. What will go down as one of the infamous moments in commentary, involving none other than Phil Gus Gould, the base jumper. Let us take you there if you missed the game on Friday night with a try to Ben Hornby.
Gasnier, watch out for him. He's gone and passed the ball this time to Barrett. There's a little kick by Barrett. It's gone down for Hornby, but Hornby...
Take that, mate. That'll be tackle 4. I think he's offside,
now. Archer's again gone to the video referee.
He's offside and it touches...
It actually touched him.
It actually touched him, so he'll be offside. They award this old jump out of the box.
Oh, get me a parachute! Get a parachute for the big fella!
Yeah, I think I was onside. I think I got a toenail just onside, so...
Ben Hornby awarded that one.
All right, have your say on this. Ben Hornby onside or offside? There is no black and white on this one, boys. You have to make an opinion, give a verdict. MG, you can start. We'll let Gus simmer over in the corner. What do you reckon?
Oh, no try. I can't believe they awarded the try. I mean, the rules might stipulate that he had a toe behind the kick, but it's not in the spirit of the game. He looked like he was 2 metres in front of the kicker. Anybody with a nous about rugby league can see that he was offside. If that was in a 6-all or 12-6 in a tight game, I wouldn't mind guessing that the referee up in the box would have changed his decision. Ooh. And I think that's got to be really looked at. That was crab.
Okay, Matty, your say. Crab or crud?
I'm not sure. That was crab. I was going to say something else, but it's wrong time.
Okay, Matty,
yeah, look, I think with that, I agree with MG. I think it's just totally against the spirit of the game, regardless of what the rules say, but the 1 foot back and all that sort of stuff, without a doubt, offside.
Okay, Gus, you're still with us. You said you would jump out of the commentary box.
Yeah, I'm prepared to jump from anywhere if that's a try. I mean, like, our game is an onside game. Basically, that's what the rules are. You've got to be onside. The majority of our rules refer to being onside. That fella was not onside by any standard that you would make. The interpretation and the weird interpretation they put on a back foot rule with the front foot of the kicker was born out 2 years ago in State of Origin when they tried to justify the Billy Slater try in Origin.
Which we have. We can have a look at that.
You can have a look at that. And then fast motion, it looks as though he's way in front. And they brought up this back foot, front foot rule as to whether or not Billy Slater was on. Now, we didn't go crook about it at the time. It was a great Origin try. Queensland won. Everyone was happy. We just wanted to get on with Game 3. But they brought out this interpretation about front foot, back foot to try and justify their decision on the night. Now, I think that line's actually wrong, but... But what I'm saying is, the back foot rule for onside is not applied anywhere else on the field. You can't have a back foot behind the halfway line when you kick off. You can't have a back foot behind the try line when you have a line drop out. You can't have your back foot behind the try line when you're defending your own line. Everything else is 2 feet behind the line. Now, my idea of onside, if I have the ball and my teammate is deemed to be onside, then theoretically I should be able to pass him the ball. Now,
no, you can't pass the ball forward, though. You can't throw the ball forward.
But I'm saying, if he is onside, I should be able to pass him the ball. Because he's over there, I can't suddenly kick it to him.
No, that's rubbish. That's right. If you pass the ball in line or back, he can reach back and gather it in from that position. That's play on, but he can't throw it forward to him.
I'm saying this. That would be the normal interpretation you should give to the onside rule. Because I'll tell you why. Why should you have an interpretation of the rule that takes a video referee to enforce it? If that grubber kick had been on halfway, Hornby picks it up and gets tackled 10 metres out from the line and they score from the next play,
but Gus,
the referee's got to be able to have a rule that he can interpret to give a penalty for offside.
I don't disagree with that.
Hornby was offside.
I don't disagree with that, but Chris Ward is of the highest integrity as a video referee. Once you've got a set play situation which is referred to him, what do you want him ruling by? The rule book or just because it'd go down well if I say no try? He's got a rule that if the trail leg is in line with a kicker or behind it and the front leg is lifted in the air, he's onside. Do you want him going by the rule book or a personal judgment?
He doesn't have a rule. What it is it a mishmash interpretation of 2 separate rules about what declares onside.
I'm looking for a concession from you. Did Chris Ward get it right the other night?
No, he didn't.
As per what he has to operate under?
No, he didn't. Ask any fan who watches the game whether he got it right. So stand up, Matty, stand up. Listen to this.
Hang on.
Listen to this.
It's all right.
By their weird interpretation of the rule, if Matty kicks the ball, right, I am onside, and we're running this way. By their interpretation of the rule...
your back leg's in line with Matty's kicking leg, but your front leg has to be in the air.
Oh, it's slightly in the air.
Fascinating
By that say, I am onside. It can't be. Not a way in the world.
No, but I want a concession from you, Gus, and sorry to leave you on the corner.
This is nice.
I want a concession from you that Chris Ward has to make a decision by the rules and explanatory notes Did he get it right or did he get it wrong?
Well, then Chris Ward should sue the NRL because he
got it right.
Because he had to make a goose of himself. No, he had to make a goose of himself. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. No, he didn't.
But he got it right.
No, he didn't get it right.
Well,
no, he didn't get it
right.
Let me tell you this. If the referee had have done the right thing and not referred it to the video referee and just said, well, he's obviously offside, and given the penalty and not referred it, this would have vanished into the ether and no one would have heard about it because no one would have challenged the decision. If Chris Ward had have said no try, no one would have challenged the decision. They've said try, and everyone in the game is saying, what if that decided the grand final? What if everyone's blowing up? There is not one person who can agree that in the spirit of the game, it's a try.
You were the one who brought up and said, what if it happened at 6-all, MG? Well, what if it did happen at 6-all and Chris Ward ignores the rules that he's meant to reach a verdict on?
It's not a rule, Vossi. It's an interpretation.
All I can say is you put your left foot in, you put your left... Look, what about this instant when they've got... another sport in athletics, when they... 100-metre dash, and they have this line across and they've got their chest way out in front. They're in front of that second man. So isn't that, in rugby league analogy, wouldn't that be offside as well, even if he's in front of the bloke? He's in front of him. I don't care about his toe there. I don't care.
I don't want to respond to this. What has that got to do with the price of fish?
What's the last 15 minutes got to do with anything?
No.
Get on with it.
Well, I've had historians go back 100 years.
Have you?
They've gone back through every newspaper article, every game, every coach's comments ever. We had never, ever heard of the back foot, front foot interpretation until the Billy Slater try. In 98 years of football, it had never, ever come up. There's not another situation in the game where with your back foot onside, you are deemed to be onside.
Okay.
Not another situation in the game.
Yes or no answer. Did Chris Ward, was he right or wrong? Oh, yes or no answer? Yes,
wrong.
He was right.
Wrong.
Wrong?
Wrong.
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 Chris Ward was right. Chris Ward was right.
It was wrong. That's not a try.
Chris Ward was right.
No, he's not.
They're the rules. He has... Oh,
well, the game is wrong. Then the rule is wrong.
Exactly. There goes the buzzer. We need to take a break.
That's the BS buzzer, by the way.
It's a fiery start to the program. As we take you to a break, let's show you some of Origin on Wednesday night. After the break, we're going to break down Origin, have a look at Darren Lockyer's form, the penalty against Denny Buderus close to full-time. Stay with us on the Sunday Roast.
Yeah.
OK, let's talk about later in the game. Let's talk about the penalty against New South Wales against Denny Buderus. Matty, you can take us through this one involving Dallas Johnson. I think the untold story is Denny does sneak an elbow on Dallas Johnson to start all this.
Yeah, well, at the time I didn't see the reverse shot, which shows that Denny's that's a little bit of a whoopsie. Couple of it, Dallas has reacted. Look, I'll be honest with you, it's just play on, let it go to Origin.
Well out of play, threw a punch. No reason at all.
Why did I do that, mate?
All right, where was that, Rick?
I got kicked in the head.
Danny. I haven't seen what's happened. He's come on, he's told me, so it's a penalty.
Throw a punch?
I don't know why you would.
I don't know why you throw a punch. But at Origin level, really, you let that go. The time at the game where it was at, and all, you just let it go.
Let's have a look at almost the very next hit-up after Queensland then score the try to get it back level and Thurston lands the kick from the sideline. Sam Thaiday comes charging back, one of the best hit-ups of the night. Buderus is the man waiting. Look what happens to Denny. Hey, and all the New South Wales players, they blow up deluxe to the different touch, to the one on the western side of the ground.
Look at them, they're all picking on me. That's the old look at the set. They're picking on me, Mum. But like seriously, both are just play on, let it go.
Matthew stops, props, pirouettes. Now he says, come and get me. That's a Fijian sevens rugby play.
Marvellous play. Matthew John standing up. Rodney Howe. When was that, Matty? What a piece of play there up in Newcastle.
Yeah, you know, bit of magic play, guys. Just pull out from the archives. Well, there's your Origin, pretty much entertainment. Me and Howie could just do that for the 20 minutes, just relive it. Jeez, I get a lot of good feedback about that.
He'd chase you for 20 minutes too.
Sorry?
He'd chase you for 20 minutes, Howie, as well.
Mate, he wouldn't go that long.
It just reminded me of like a Robbie Chew playing for Newcastle in the early days. That sort of play with a hand out. It's good
Rugged,
stuff.
resourceful and red-headed Robbie Chew.
Yeah, welcome back to the Sunday Roast. This is the Ratchaburi prison where they had a laughing contest this week where the winner, I think, gets a slice of bread. Mic troubles. That can happen at NRL big events, grand final day.
Yeah, I'm going to the chamber. I'm getting fired upon. Yeah, real funny, boys.
In fact, I'm hearing word right now, from the ARL that they're considering this for Origin 2.
Oh, look at that.
And that's a shot of the prison there in Ratchaburi. He looked a bit more like the Cessnock motor in.
What was it?
Why would, in prison, why would a
You
bloke
laugh.
get dressed up like a woman? Can someone explain it? Yeah, that's funny.
Because you'll be my Saturday night thing.
I tell you what, I'm going to pay those parking fines.
Okay. I tell you what we do right now after that. Oh, crying. Oh dear, how do I recover? In Japan, they're selling canned oxygen. Can we go to this bit of tape, please? That's what we need right now. I saw Matty Johns on the sideline on Wednesday night when the Blues were suddenly in trouble 16-all. He needed oxygen. Ben Eichen at 14-0 down. Need the oxygen. Now you can buy it in a tin. What about a quick shot of oxygen?
You know who's into that, don't you? Our last emailer, George. He loves that stuff.
Okay, so there we go. That is canned oxygen. Okay, Matty, if you can get yourself together,
yes.
You want to talk a bit of rugby union, and I know the viewers love it when we talk rugby.
Yeah, look, boys, I've been critical of rugby union. Look, at Wednesday night we had a fantastic game of State of Origin, but I've got to take my hat off the Super 12 final, Super 14 final. I've got to say it's one of the best games of rugby union I've ever seen. Just take a look at the vision, and it'll explain why. It was just, it was fantastic, and. You know, just look at that.
Look at the skill.
Yeah,
They needed that X-Men helicopter there to try and clear
they
the
should have
fog.
got it. That is just, it's brilliant stuff.
Foresight.
And just well done. I mean, seriously.
Hell of
Look
a
at that.
fog. I reckon I remember matches on the Kangaroo Tour, Gus being played a bit like this, but it wasn't the feature game, was it?
Greg Alexander told me on the 1990 tour they were playing a game against St Helens or something in a fog worse than that, and he was playing on the left wing. He said our right winger was Dale Shearer. He said, I'm out on the left wing. He said, I can hardly see anything, and I feel this tap on the shoulder. I turned around. He said, there's Dale Shearer. He said, just come over to see what it was like over here. And he ran off into the fog again and took off.